Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. We're happy you're spending some time with us. Chip and Zay right here, holding it down on the midday. Texas Sports Unfiltered. Tell your friends and enemies. Set an alarm in your phone for 2 o'clock to repeat every weekday at 2 o'clock so you can hang out with your homies. Zay, how you doing?
What's up, my man? Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hump day. Feeling good. Feeling great. Chip, how are you?
I am feeling good. I'm feeling great. And I'm ready to rumble. So we got it's the crazy season. We got guys making big decisions whether to stay or go. We got coaches on the way out. Well, Chad Scott, running backs coach. 1 year, one and done.
Yo, man, was he even finished unpacking his stuff from West Virginia? He still had his stuff in boxes, Chip. That's it? 1 year? That's it?
Man, someone had to pay for this epically bad year. I don't know that it was all Chad Scott's fault, but I mean, there was some, it took him 9 games to figure out the best offensive line. You had Trey Wisner miss all the games in September with a hammy. CJ Baxter missed 4 games with a hammy. It was a tough year. I mean, it was the worst statistical year, yards rushing per game since 1944. 1944. So that was rough, to say the least. Texas averaged 127.9 yards per game rushing. That was 100th in the country. And, for a school that debuted the wishbone and ran all over people in the 60s and 70s, averaging 300 yards a game on the ground. This was a stark contrast, to say the least. So Chad Scott is up and out. And now it's going to be interesting to see, because you're hearing Jabbar Jaluka, the former Florida running backs coach who coached Jaden Baugh this past season. He was not retained by John Sumrall, the new head coach of the Florida Gators. So he's out there. He's on the market. Now, I cannot imagine that Jaden Baugh, that Florida would let Jaden Baugh get away. Jaden Baugh's, woo! You would think he's going to command quite a pretty penny in the NIL market, Zay. I don't know that you blow your budget, but the dude is a ball player.
Yeah, Texas, they saw that firsthand when he basically took over the game in that first quarter and first half. And obviously Dallas Wilson with those big explosive plays is what Longhorn fans are going to remember. But yeah, Jaden Baugh, he was probably the player of that game. And he just runs with, an intense style that not too many people see in college football nowadays. But going back to Chad Scott, you're right, Chip. Somebody had to take that bullet. And we know Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood, that's the homie right there. So, Chad, it's going to be you before Kyle. Is that fair? Nope, but life ain't fair. And Kyle Flood, I would send Chad Scott a gift basket wherever he goes. Send him something, because a lot of this is on you. I felt like what I imagined, and here I go conjuring again. I imagine Kyle Flood sitting in the corner like this, and then Sark saying, "Yeah, Chad, it's just not working for us. Sorry. We wish you the best," especially since Neil's in Denton now. Because, that was kind of how it went. Like, Neil Brown came, put in a good word for Chad Scott. Could have been vice versa. Either way, Neil's in ATX, so is Chad. They got each other. Now Neil's in Denton. You ain't got no loyalty to Chad no more. So, tough. It is tough. But Kyle Flood, a lot's on you, dog. And you too, Steve. Lots on you guys, because Connor Stroh, we see he's in the portal. Nick Brooks was awful the time that he got, which I can't blame the freshman. He came in to play tackle. What y'all putting me at guard for? Y'all, he ain't even see Neto. What happened with that? At all. Just wasted Neto's season. Like, did Neto get a red shirt this year since he didn't play at all? I know he's a senior, but did he play? He didn't play in 4 games, so hopefully he still has 1 more year left. So
no, he already redshirted.
See, they did him wrong, man. They did him so wrong. Because
he got the Trey Owens treatment.
How you go from battling for a starting spot to just not even playing at all or given any opportunity to do anything? Like, they mucked up. Kyle Flood, Steve Sarkisian, and then Chad Scott's out here taking the bullets. He's not Tashard Choice. We knew that, but yeah, I don't know, man. 1 year, that's brutal. And I'm sure CJ Baxter, with him leaving, that probably had a big part in why Chad Scott had to leave too, because I'm sure that didn't work. You want to be optimistic if you're CJ Baxter, but these guys love Tashard Choice, man. So whoever came in, whether it was Chad Scott or hell, Barry Sanders coming in as a running back coach, those are still big shoes to fill. And
yeah, there's no doubt that Tashard Choice was beloved.
Yeah.
He just has he's just a great coach. He identifies talent. He recruits the hell out of it. He builds relationships. Remember, he got Jahmyr Gibbs to go to Georgia Tech. Now Jahmyr Gibbs goes to, Alabama. And now he's, an all pro. And Tashard Choice is back coaching him again in Detroit. And finding coaches like that, that's hard. It's hard because Choice is a guy who just, pours into his guys. Had a lot to do with the development of Quintravian Wisner, who was never supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be CJ Baxter in 24. And then he goes down with that knee injury, season-ending knee injury in camp, and Quintravian Wisner is suddenly the guy and ran for 1,000 yards, came up big in some huge games as Texas, gets to the semifinals of the college football playoffs. So, Choice, unbelievable job. And I know the styles are different because there was some, you heard some rumblings that like Jared Gibson he wasn't feeling it. He wasn't feeling it, with Chad Scott. And Jarek's in the portal and out the door. Woulda, coulda things been different? Hard to say, but it was going to be tough to replace Tashard Choice. And now a year later, Steve Sarkisian's replacing Chad Scott.
Oh, it must have been really bad. Like 1 year, it must have been really bad. Obviously, the product that we saw was bad, and the stats that you just pointed out shows it. But behind the scenes, there must have been some just disagreements and confrontation. And we don't really know, but Yeah, Jared Gibson, for him to just up and leave middle of the year. Like, CJ Baxter loves Texas. Met his girlfriend here. Like, for him to up and leave, it must have got bad to where what can Sark do? Like, you got to make a change. Travian Wiseman, you talked about just his spirit and attitude after the Georgia game, you know? And to Chad Scott's defense, what can he do with a hurt hamstring from CJ Baxter? What can he do with a hurt hamstring from Travian Wiseman? Like, and then you got all these young bucks that it's their first time playing meaningful snaps. And the O-line sucks. So somebody, it had to be someone. And Chad Scott, like, hey, enemy number one, public enemy number one. And
Yeah,
I feel for him, but also that's the business. You getting paid 6 figures, close to 7. He'll be all right. Chin up, sport. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hope he rented when he was here. I hope he didn't unpack too much. Cause
yeah, I think he rented.
good for him.
You know,
good for him. You know,
but he did a good job at West Virginia. I mean, they had high-powered rushing attacks there, and so it's not like he, it just didn't click. And look, you come into a team that's a playoff team, and you're not the one building it from scratch, and you got high-powered guys in that room who've had success. Now, some have had to overcome injury, obviously CJ Baxter. It just didn't click. And so now, I see comments over here like, did Kyle Flood, what, blah, blah, blah. Look, Steve Sarkisian is the only one who can answer what really was going on, because, who told who about the offensive line? Are we good? Do we need to go to the portal? And then what took so long to get to the, Cole Hudson at left guard decision? Because that could have happened against Florida. Cole Hudson was healthy for that game. He was playing center. Connor Robertson was on the bench. And so only Steve Sarkisian knows the nitty-gritty on that. Now, the fact that some of these guys you've developed are getting in the portal, like Neto and Connor Stroh, these are, Neto's been in the program 4 years and didn't, it didn't work. And they didn't, I'm not going to go into the details because I've already talked about it. Like, they said he would let one play affect another. Okay, well, coach him up, coach him up. If the guy, if he doesn't have it, that's one thing. And maybe he's better suited for a smaller school or something like that. Or maybe he just needs a fresh start with a different coach. I mean, look at Logan Parr left the Texas program and became a starter at SMU, played in a playoff game last year and was one of the highest rated guards in the country, according to Pro Football Focus. So look, Kyle Flood helped turn Christian Jones into an NFL draft pick. That was like, wow for me, because Christian Jones on the left side, it was not working. Casey Thompson was getting killed in 21. But then they flip him over to the right side, and Christian Jones develops into a NFL draft pick. So Kyle Flood, he knows how to develop guys. I don't know what happened. Kyle Flood, sometimes you can just have a bad year.
Yeah.
So either way, Kyle Flood's been with Steve Sarkisian, Atlanta Falcons, Alabama. They've been together 9 years. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we've seen some of the best coaches ever in all types of sports have down years. Like I remember seeing Mike Krzyzewski losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Sometimes it's just, hey, the other schools have to get scholarships too. The other coaches are busting their ass too. And
hey, look at, I mean,
they're human.
2010, Mac Brown. They play for the national championship. Mac is devastated, haunted about Colt going down, mad that he didn't have a running game to fall back on. He and Greg Davis had always argued about how to run the football. And when, Colt goes down, they don't have a running game, and Alabama ends up running it to beat Texas with Mark Ingram. Mac was furious. He dug in his heels. He's like, we're going to a power running offense. And he didn't have the guys. He just landed Garrett Gilbert, a guy he valued over Andrew Luck, a guy who, and Mac was slow to come back from North Carolina that year. He had Will Muschamp as the coach in waiting. The assistants were starting to hang around in Muschamp's office, and Mac's like, he just lost it. He just had a rough year. And he was like, if I see you all hanging around Muschamp's office, I'm going to fire you.
What?
Yeah. It was, and then it was 5-7. And you'll never forget that Iowa State post game where Mac was like, I'm ready. Why aren't my assistants and my players ready? It was so un-Mac like that whole year. And then he, was kind of fighting uphill to get it back after that. Obviously, he gets pushed out in 13. But sometimes you can have a bad year. Brian Kelly in 2016 goes 4-8, made changes, got right back, Ed
Orgeron won a national championship, got fired like 2 years later.
Yeah, he and Gene Chizik. Like, they did win you a national championship.
Nah.
2 years later?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a cold business, man. It's a cold business. But, yeah, they got to do a better job at evaluating guys. Got to hit that portal. And I like Connor Stroh. Connor Stroh, if he could figure it all out with them measurements, man, look out, because that dude, talk about get off the bus type of guy, Connor Stroh is that. And I thought it was going to click for him. I thought that him getting the start against Ohio State, it was like, okay, here we go, Big Red. This is it. This offensive line, they got all their pieces. Let's go. Let's go stick it to the SEC. Let's go get to the college football playoff. Arch Manning, let's get to New York. And just the opposite happened. Like, just chaos. Just absolute chaos. And this is, I see folks talking about Dwayne Akina and stuff like that. Okay. You could say the same thing about Jalen Gilbo and making him an outside corner and changing that position, because he was not that good this year. And it took them a long time to figure out, maybe we should start giving Kay Phillips some more reps. Maybe we should start giving Warren Roberson some more bump and see what these guys could do with it. Because at the end of the year, that's exactly what happened. So a lot of these moves that we saw at the beginning of the season, they just missed on. And that happens. Like, guys get better throughout the season. Guys are supposed to get better, but nah, not how they had it happen this year. It's
not everyone is Jade Barron.
Yeah.
Jade Barron, that dude, it was special. And Andrew Makuba. My goodness. Makuba was a revelation, and how wild. They had him playing nickel at Clemson, and he's like, man, I need to show y'all my ball skills. He had 1 interception in 3 years at Clemson, and then he gets 5, including a game ender in the Peach Bowl, college football playoff quarterfinal against Arizona State. And that connection, we said it all last year. Like, this is so special. You need to enjoy this. This doesn't come along every day. This connection that Jahdae Barron, Andrew Makuba, and Michael Taff have, because they train together while going to 3 different high schools. They trained together under Bam Blake. So, you know, you savor those special teams, those special players, and you hope that you got more in the pipeline. But, you know, we're about to find out who's in, who's out, because, you know, I get the feeling Texas is gonna, you know, they're gonna load up. However, they have to load up because you're going into the last year of Arch Manning and Colin Simmons. Yeah. Like, you can't mess around. These, you know, if you think Arch Manning is got that high ceiling, which I think he does, then you got to go for it. You got to go for it in 26.
Yeah. And no excuses. 105 scholarships now. No excuse, Sark. No excuse. Like, you're Texas. Make it work. Figure it out. Because now you should really have your pick of the litter with 105. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, they gotta put all the chips in, because last year, this past season, it's a dud year. Like, you got A&M in Oklahoma playing for a national championship, and you're going to Orlando. That's tough, man. That's tough. There has to be a lot of changes.
And it wasn't a lost season. It felt like it at times, because the Kentucky win felt like a loss, and the Mississippi State game, it took you 2 days to did Texas win that game when it was all said and done? You know, so it was one of those, it was like, you know, that ride at the carnival or the fair. I don't know. I don't do well on those spinning things.
Oh, I don't do roller coasters at all anymore.
Well, roller coasters I'm really good on, but those ones where you just spin, I'm like, ugh. That's what this season felt like at times. And because like that Vanderbilt game was feeling so good. It was, you know, 34-10. It's like, oh, hell. These guys done figured some stuff out at the end of this brutal, you know, 5-game stretch before they got that bye going into Georgia. And then the fourth quarter happens. And then, you know, Georgia, they're kind of, you know, some drops, and you're like, somehow it's 14-10 going into the fourth quarter. You're like, oh my God, Texas is going to figure this thing out. No. And so it was a wild year. It didn't feel like it was a, like, look, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, with the way that Notre Dame was just housing, you know, obviously a lesser schedule than what Texas had, but Notre Dame fans were feeling like, man, our team's looking good. Our team's got game control. We're handling people. You know, Texas handled Oklahoma in the third quarter. Texas handled A&M starting in the third quarter. They handled Vanderbilt for 3 quarters. You know, it was never quite complete unless you're talking about Sam Houston. And Sam Houston was terrible. So,
yeah. Meanwhile, Georgia, they're out here canceling games. They had a little home and home with North Carolina State. Not doing that. So cool. Keep the Ohio State game. We got to do it. Has to be done. But Kirby Smart's out here saying, we'll be all right. North Carolina State. Nah, we don't. And North Carolina State's not even cold. Like, North Carolina State isn't even one of those teams where you should really be afraid of. Like, Georgia, 9 out of 10 times, stomps North Carolina State. But the committee showed us they could care less about what you do in the opening games. Whatever your loss record says, that is going to be affected when it comes to decision-making for the teams that make it in the college football playoff, obviously. So I get it. We got to play the Ohio State game because we went there last year, but is it worth it? Especially going to 9 games. You can't miss, Sark. You can't miss this year. Like, evaluating, everything has to be money.
Yeah. Man. I mean,
hey, say Georgia's scared. All right, whatever. To me, I think it's smart. Like, if the committee's going to act like the way they have been acting all year long, just flip-flopping, changing things up.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen. I really don't, hair of the dog. I wish the committee looked at the Striffa schedule like they told us they would, to where they could just play this game and we all could be cool with it and not have to worry about the repercussions if you lose it. But the committee proved to us they don't care. Oh, yeah, 4-8 Florida. Did you see how many players that Florida had all ACC? Watch how many players from Florida get drafted. Like, they're not
all SEC.
All SEC, excuse me. Thank you. Like, come on, man. One of the best 4-win teams you ever gonna see. They don't care. The committee could care less.
Yeah.
So it's brutal. That sucks that you have to fear for that Ohio State game. And I get it. The money's gonna be good. Viewership's gonna be high. All those things. But
and Sarkisian said, hey, we're honoring those contracts. So Texas is on the record saying they're going to play Ohio State and Michigan and then see where things are. Then you'll have a 2-year sample size with a 9-game SEC schedule. And you can see how it affects things. You can see what that life is like before you decide what you're doing with Notre Dame in 28 and 29. But, you know, the thing is, if Notre Dame is in the top 12, they're in. So the power conferences should all refuse to schedule them. Make them play the G5 teams and never have a strong enough schedule to get in to the playoff. I mean, kind of force them into a conference.
Yeah, I wouldn't, unless if Notre Dame's going to pay us. Like, I'd treat them like we're the G5 team. Like, Notre Dame, y'all going to have to pay us to play us because y'all get unfair rules right now. And shout out to the committee. That's the only thing that I really appreciate what they did. Keep Notre Dame out. At least they did that. But overall, man, they were just making stuff up as they go. Like, it say that. If they came out and say that, be like, yeah, we lied. What about head-to-head? What about Striffa's schedule? Yeah, for some teams, we considered that. For other teams, we didn't. Texas, we didn't.
Well,
oh well.
And the other thing too is we need to rethink the scheduling of college football. You need to get rid of 1 or 2 of these non-conference games that against tomato cans that no one cares about. Okay, maybe you keep 1 as like a preseason game. You get your team out there, work through some kinks, whatever. But you can't have 3. You can't have 3 tomato cans. That's not fair to the players. Get rid of one of those tomato can non-conference games. Get rid of the conference championship games. Go to a 16-team playoff, and away we go. You know, I mean, because if we are seeing cancellation of marquee non-conference games, man, that's going to be awful in September.
Yeah.
It's going to be awful. I mean, you're going to have to start playing conference games second week of the season to have anything good on television.
Yep.
Which the SEC has done in the past. You know, every team except Texas, maybe there was one other team had a conference game. Texas was like the only team that didn't have a conference game in the month of September. And so they had to backload it all. Like Ole Miss, one team had like 3 conference games in September.
Yeah, it was
2 or 3. Yeah, Ole Miss. Yeah. So,
which really benefited them with all the stuff with Lane Kiffin and all that, because nobody was thinking about Lane Kiffin moving on then. When they had meaningful games and everybody was locked in, nobody was talking about Lane like that. So when they finished all the rough part of the schedule, that's when, Lane might be going to Florida and LSU, because those coaches weren't gone yet. Billy Napier and Brian Kelly. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Sarkisian said, hey, getting those early conference games, that's a good thing. Your team is healthy. You know, he's like, we're playing all these tough ass teams down the stretch when we're banged up. We're hanging on. We got dudes, you know, in and out of the cold tub trying to, you know, hold it together with duct tape.
Yeah. Don't play a home game in October.
Yeah, that was wow.
42 days out being in DKR. Like, yeah.
Like the committee, it was weird. It was like they didn't give a flip.
I'm saying the committee, they just didn't care. They didn't care about nothing. They didn't care about anything. Like, they weren't objective at all. It was just, what's your win record? What's your loss record? That's it. Like, that's what's so frustrating about it. Like, and I feel Steve Sarkisian being like, okay, just tell us this is how you're going about it. Don't lie. Don't lie and give us just this format of how y'all are going to make these decisions. Because when it comes to Texas, none of that applied. None of it. So it just, I don't know. Just being a dead horse at this point. But,
well,
yeah.
Like, who's your national champion?
I have a strange feeling that loss to Indiana woke up Ohio State.
Okay.
I just have that. It's kind of like what the Michigan game did for them last year. Like, they needed a wake-up call. Julian saying, and then Julian saying's going to watch Fernando Mendoza hoist that Heisman Trophy up. Ooh, man. That's giving me VY Reggie Bush vibes, man. That's one of those, you know, you say it don't sting, but how many guys get the opportunity to be in that moment, you know? And I'm sure Ohio State wants that get back, because they were embarrassed. Like, they're Ohio State. They were embarrassed. This is Indiana. You've been dominating them for over 100 years in that Big Ten conference.
Okay, so Indiana and Texas Tech, they probably got the best end of that draw. Because you got Oregon against James Madison. Texas Tech's going to get the winner. You got Alabama and Oklahoma, who both have limitations right now. The winner of that plays Indiana. Indiana should get through. And then we're going to find out how good Texas Tech is, because I'm not even sure Oregon is that good. Meanwhile, down below in the lower half of the bracket, you got Georgia as the 3 seed. They're going to get the winner of Tulane and Ole Miss. So Ole Miss. And then Ohio State gets the winner of Miami and A&M. Like, that's the tougher of the 2 brackets.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Ohio State, Georgia, that's a national championship worthy game. And who knows? We're about to find out what Texas Tech is all about, because Texas Tech beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State. Their most impressive win was going to Utah and winning 34-10. And maybe, going to Arizona State and winning 26 or lose. They lost that game, but they didn't have Baron Morton in that game. Yeah, I mean, they didn't play. Okay, BYU. They beat BYU twice. So whatever you think of BYU with that fullback at quarterback, that guy.
That's my dude.
He's a freshman who's, that yeah, they're not playing elite quarterbacks. So we're about to find out what Texas Tech's all about, because I see some of these, brackets people are filling out where Texas Tech beats Indiana, gets into the championship game, and oh Lord, And here's the thing, Texas Tech's defense it's good. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people think that Jake Rodriguez, Buckus Award winner, should have been up for the Heisman. And I get it. The dude's put up crazy numbers, Last guy we've seen do that at the linebacker position was Manti Te'o. So they got guys, man. Joey McGuire's done a really good job. We know the Skrilla that Cody Campbell's been throwing around. Like, everybody's throwing around money. So I hate to see people look at Tech and be like, oh, the best team money could buy. Whatever. It's like Ohio State, Texas, and everybody else in the SEC ain't throwing around big paper too. But yeah, Tech, they're tough, man. And they got Aiken and Virgil. Those are really good wide receivers. And Baron Morton's been playing good football all year. You just got to worry about Baron Morton's health more than anything.
How about this? So all 8 of the all 8 of the Power 5 playoff teams are top 12 in scoring defense. So Ohio State's number 1, giving up 8.2 points per game. Indiana is second, giving up 10.8. Texas Tech is third, giving up 10.9. Miami is 6th, giving up 13.8. Oklahoma is 7th, giving up 13.9. Oregon is 9th, giving up 14.8. Georgia is 11th, giving up 15.9. And Alabama is 12th, giving up 17.4. So, I mean, those top 3 defenses, like, normally you have one defense that gives up 10 points per game, because that's crazy elite. Ohio State's giving up 8 points per game. And you got Indiana and Texas Tech. Now, again, who did Indiana play non-conference? Nobody. And their best win was over Oregon, out in Oregon, and Iowa, whose offense is challenged. And Texas Tech, I mean, really, we're about to learn. Georgia is battle tested. Georgia is battle tested. Like, I know what Georgia is about. And Oklahoma is battle tested. I mean, Texas beat them by 17. So some of these, like you heard Kurt Signetti say, hey, man, we were in some tight games. We were in a dogfight with Iowa and Penn State. So when we were in a dogfight against Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, we weren't sweating it. And Ohio State hadn't been in that position all year, except what, a one-score game with Texas?
Yeah.
So maybe you're right, Zay. Maybe that wakes up Ohio State. Or maybe they're not, battle tested enough, but they're going to get battle tested because they are in the same half with Georgia. And look, A&M, if A&M beats Miami, A&M's got one loss to the Horns.
Yeah. Well, is that the Rose Bowl that Ohio State?
Indiana's in the Rose Bowl.
What game is that Ohio State game?
Ohio State is, I think, let me see where the
I need to put you on the spot like that. But either way, whoever wins that Miami A&M game, good luck. Good luck. Because I would not want to play Ohio State right now. That's just, I think Julian's saying, I think he's going to bounce back. That's going to be a tough one for either of those teams. But, yeah.
Tech is in the Orange Bowl. Indiana's in the Rose Bowl. Georgia's in the Sugar Bowl. And Ohio State's in the Cotton Bowl.
Okay.
So Ohio State could be playing A&M in Arlington, just like they had to play Texas in Arlington last year.
Yeah, they ain't care about that.
Nope. Yeah. And then the semifinal would be Ohio State, whatever that Ohio State, Georgia half plays in the Fiesta Bowl, and the Indiana, Texas Tech semifinal. That bracket would be the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. National championship in Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting about the CFP is which team that has a bye is going to start off slow because they've had too much time off. And then that team that played the week prior, are they going to be fatigued and battered up, or are they going to be able to just carry on that momentum that they had from winning that game into their next one? Because we saw last year, Oregon got by Ohio State, and they just looked sluggish. And Ohio State, coming off of that home victory at the Shoe against Josh Heupel and the Vols, they found that rhythm, and it just stayed the rest of the playoffs. Which, if you're Oregon or Ole Miss, that's what you got to bank off of. Beating the hell out of Tulane and James Madison so you can springboard yourself into some serious momentum when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, which also why the CFP is awful, because James Madison, Toledo, the fact that they think that they have a shot is ridiculous. And I mean, not Toledo, Tulane. And Summerall, where's his head going to be? Because you got to worry about what's going on in Gainesville, bruh. Good for you coaching. Good for Tulane letting you coach. Obviously he didn't mess up any relationships there like Lane Kiffin did. But he put out a weird tweet yesterday where, like, it's photoshopped and half of his body's in Tulane gear and half of his body is in Florida gear. And it's like, okay, sure. Like, I get what you're trying to say, but also, come on, bro. You're reaching here. You're doing a lot. Don't act like this is just a smooth transition. Ain't nothing smooth about it.
No.
And I'm sure deep down he knows they about to get their ass whooped.
Well, Jake Retzlaff, baby. Don't count out Jake Retzlaff. Like I know that Tulane got smashed by Ole Miss. But remember when Texas smashed Colorado and then Colorado showed up in the 01 Big 12 title game and suddenly it's a shootout and it was not Chris Sims' best day. They go to Major Applewhite. He almost brings them back. I mean, stranger things have happened, but you would think that Ole Miss will, get through it. But I mean, I like quarterbacks at this time of year. And Jake Retzlaff, that dude's a gamer. I mean, man, if BYU didn't have their rules about no nookie, Retzlaff might have taken BYU into this playoff.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let him get out of the state. Let him go to Nevada. Let him go to Vegas for a weekend. He's in another state. He's fine. He comes back, locks that thing up like the rest of them do, and gets to play good football. I'm telling you, man, Mormon wives, it ain't the same. Things have changed. If I'm Kalani Sitake, I'm talking to everybody like, yo, we could get some of these big time players, but y'all gotta loosen up a little bit. Y'all gotta help me out. Like, if I was Kalani Sitake, that's what would have went into my negotiating contract when he was flirting with Penn State a little bit, and they had to give him some Ostrilla. That would have went into it. Hey, let me recruit players that ain't going to be celibate. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to say they're going to be out here just in these streets, but also if he gets a little something, look the other way. That's okay. Do you want to win or not?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. That's tough. What are you, like, you're in college. You ain't never going to get this back. That's why a lot of them go to Africa and stuff. Before they come back, they got to get it out their system. Before they come back, they got to get it out of their system. They do. They come back. And hell, I'm sure it's still difficult, but man.
Sooner Cowboys is might be wishing on a rock here. Like the OU running game is John Mateer. It's not running backs. So John Mateer is going to have to be the $1 million man here. And OU's defense has got to play out of its mind for OU to advance in this thing. Because I'll give OU's defense credit. They have carried this team because that offense is hard to watch. It's hard to watch because Mateer's okay accuracy-wise. He's no Julian Sand. And I get Mateer's a tough guy and all that, and I like him. He's a scrapper. He gives energy to his team, but 12 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions, and he was, right at 62% completion rate. So that's right where you'll take that. That's where Arch Manning is, but Mateer has to do it all. I mean, he's got 7 touchdowns rushing. Of course, Arch has 8, but I don't know. I mean, OU playing Alabama, both these teams are limping, I mean, not OU's defense. OU's defense is legit, but I think Indiana is going to handle whoever comes through that bracket.
Yeah. John Mateer, man, that thumb's clearly still bothering him. Like, I just don't think it ever got good, even after the Texas game. Like, you would think that it would get better, but But the way he's playing, I can't say that it has. And they're here. Like the fact that, like Brent Venables, say what you want about him, hell of a coaching job. Like I remember saying after the Texas game, ain't no way with the remaining games that they have left, they're going to make the college football playoff. But they win. The Tuscaloosa handled business, went into Knoxville, handled business, and him calling plays on defense changed everything. So I think Ty Simpson's going to struggle yet again, just like he's been struggling the last half of the year. And that's going to be one of those first 1 to 20 wins, if either one could even get there. Hell, it might be first 1 to 17 wins, because I just don't see it. Like both of those defenses are going to step up. Both of those offenses have been horrible. So can Kalen DeBoer, who has a lot of heat on him, man. Like this Alabama job, is it worth it? Because the way they go at Kalen DeBoer, like you're in the college football playoff this year, and they're still pissed. They are hot. They said, yo, Kirby don't beat us like that, man. 28-7, that doesn't happen. Do you see our record against Georgia? For Kalen DeBoer to get smacked around like that, man, it's tough. And he knew what he was doing, taking over for Saban. He knew what he was getting into. But if they lose this one, you got 4 losses on your record, even though you got double-digit wins, going into 2026, that seat's going to be on fire, which is nuts for a team that is in the college football playoff. But that standard at Alabama, different.
And they put those graphics up comparing, how many 3-loss seasons Nick Saban had. None after his first year. Like, that's why you don't want to follow the guy. You want to be the guy who follows the guy who followed the guy. Because if you're the guy who follows the guy, then you get those graphics put up all the time. Well, Nick Saban, 3-loss, and that happened his first year, and then not again for 16 straight years. Okay. He's Nick Saban. This is NIL transfer portal. I'm telling you what, there's rumblings that maybe Sherrone Moore gets canned at Michigan, and that, they would go after Kalen DeBoer. And I wonder how his family would feel about that, because at Michigan, he would not be following the man. He'd be following the man who followed the man, and that's where you want to be. So, who knows what's going on at Michigan, but his family's got to be like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you don't feel good going out to the grocery store? That's tough, man.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to go.
Yeah. And they go find where you live too. They go find it. It might be a gated community, but they go find it. Not just what they do. They ain't got nothing else to do. Think about that whole state. What do they have other than football going on? Nothing. That's all they got. All their energy. That's what I'm saying. Texas is different. There's a lot to do in the ATX. For those folks, it's either Bama or Auburn. Alex Golish, he go find out too. It ain't the same, but he go find out. It's gonna be way different than what it was at South Florida, bro. And that's just what it is, man. But yeah, Bama, I don't know what happened, because we were talking about them winning it all. Like, think of how we were talking about Ty Simpson at one point this year. He shocked us all those first 2 months. Then November came around, and what happened? Like, just like that, he don't look healthy. He's not running around improvising like he once was. That Ty Simpson that we saw against the first game of Georgia, where they went, 16,
oh my gosh,
19 on third down, something crazy like that.
Unbelievable.
Them days are over. Gone.
Yeah, he couldn't miss. He couldn't miss on third down.
Yeah. Like, what happened with Ryan Williams? Like, how can a player go from all that cover of video games? You know, he's the next big thing after Jeremiah Smith. It's Ryan Williams. And all they talked about this year was, can Ryan Williams get that freshman spirit back? Like, how can you regress? You're supposed to keep getting better. Has the money and fame gotten to Ryan Williams' head? You can
Sophomore
argue,
slump.
yeah, sophomore slump. Like,
Sophomore slump. You see that at wide receiver more than you see it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah,
because defenses adjust. They're gonna bracket you. You're the guy now. Everyone's coming for you. Kind of like Colin Simmons. You know, everyone's gonna chip you and commit a double team to you, and you're gonna have to do extra to stay above. Because Ryan Williams this year, 42 catches, 631 yards, and 4 touchdowns. His freshman year, 48 catches, only 6 more catches, but 865 yards. So 234 more yards on those 6 catches and 8 touchdowns. And they were spectacular.
Yeah.
The game winner against Alabama or against Georgia, that 75-yarder from Jalen Milroe, right after Carson Beck got him all the way back. Georgia took the lead, and then Jalen Milroe's like, "Whoop! Ryan Williams, see y'all. We out."
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, and you know he got Pizzade. Like, you know he got some serious Skrilla, which I heard Texas fans, because he was KJ Lacey's high school teammate, Texas fans, Ryan, if you're that disgruntled and that unhappy, if Steve Sarkisian calls, maybe he needs a new change of scenery. Who knows? I take Ryan Williams. I wouldn't break the bank for him, but if they can work something out, you know, he's going to have to get a little less than what he's making at Bama, but he's going to have more opportunities here at Texas than he would at Alabama. Nobody goes back to Alabama to live. Texas players come back to the ATX to live. You know what I'm saying? It's different out here. So I pick up the phone. Why not? Cam Coleman too.
He's got, Cam Coleman. Oh, yeah. But how much is that going to cost you?
Oh, he looked greedy. He looks greedy as hell. I'm sure he can't wait. And he looked like he got an Uncle Elroy too.
He looks greedy as hell.
He looks just because that's the brother that was wearing 2 watches on his wrist during games. Yeah, like that's what I mean by look greedy. He is greedy, not look greedy. He is greedy.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, no, Cam Coleman. No, just
develop.
Let
me see if I can pull this up. This is
what the
classic.
2 watches?
Yeah.
Let me try to pull it up because bootleg doesn't do it justice.
I mean, good eye, say.
Yeah, that fool. How he didn't play with it, did he?
Yes.
It was I thought it was just for show.
No.
I thought it was just pregame.
Okay, here it is. Look at this. Hold on.
Yeah, that's bootleg as hell.
Hold on. Look at this. Look at those 2 watches.
Yeah, I got you. Good job. You're taking it back, though, to Chip and Zay season 1. Yeah. We can't afford them.
Okay, let's bring in Hummer, hole-in-one Hummer, Chris Hummer, a guy's breaking stories all over the place. We've got him for a few minutes because he's got to get back to breaking more stories. But Hummer, Zay is convinced because Cam Coleman was wearing 2 watches while playing for Auburn that Texas cannot afford him in the transfer portal. Your thoughts?
I mean, what was the famous Red McCombs quote back in the day? More money than anywhere but buried under the Vatican. Like,
Yeah.
Texas could do what it needs to do, but Cam Coleman would be very expensive. He is a David Mulligetta client. David Mulligetta obviously has some ties to the University of Texas. I'm not saying that Texas is going to go get Cam Coleman by any means, but like, I think if Texas felt like he was a guy that could change the program and was the right fit, like they would go spend.
Yeah. Hummer, your thoughts?
You're not going to contribute a watch? You can make it 3.
I might.
You got NIL money in, baby.
I might. You know, I believe in Ryan Wingo year 3, Hummer. I believe in that. Even though some don't.
Good luck on that island.
Hummer, your thoughts on the college football playoff, what matchups you are excited for, and how it all went down with the committee selecting the 12 teams that we see are in.
This committee was definitely the worst we've ever seen. Like, I'll put it this way. That was ridiculous. A lot of things were ridiculous about that. I think ultimately they got it right, putting in Miami over Notre Dame. I think the head-to-head on the field should matter, but the way they explained that for weeks was ridiculous. Like, the process seemed ridiculous. Honestly, like, I don't really get Texas being the 3rd team out. Like, I think you could have made an argument Texas should have been in the field. Like, there's just a lot that was wrong with that process, but it'll be exciting. And I mean, don't get mad at James Madison. Get mad at Duke. Get mad at the ACC for their bad tiebreakers. Like, that's the reality of it. So this is the system we have, and like, it's a mix of deserving and best, and just kind of what it is. You know what I mean? But the committee was rough, man. Like, it was really bad.
Rough. I don't feel like we got the best teams, Hummer, or the teams that were playing the best, you know, at the end of the season. But, you know, and I said to Zay earlier in the show, Notre Dame was playing good football. They just didn't have the resume. They didn't have the top 10 wins. And so now they're not going to play a bowl game. I mean, what is that?
They took their ball and went home.
You don't want those 15 practices?
I don't disagree with you. I don't understand it, to be honest. Maybe they just thought their players would be so upset they would just go through the motions and they risk people getting hurt for no reason. But it's a decision I still don't quite understand. In fairness to Notre Dame, like, I think they're one of the 12 best teams in the country. Like, kind of like Texas. Like, if Texas played Alabama tomorrow, I would pick Texas. If Notre Dame played Miami tomorrow, I would pick Notre Dame. But like, the results on the field matter at the end of the day. So just because you didn't get your way doesn't mean you throw a fit and try to upend the bowl system and your partnership with the ACC. Like, I think the way Notre Dame reacted to this has been ridiculous and kind of just beyond the pale in some ways. Like, you didn't see TCU threatening to leave. Like, what were they? The Big 12 back in 2014? Like, come on. Like, this is the risk you take by not being in a conference and not having a conference championship game opportunity. And this is the risk you take by scheduling the way you did. Like, they chose to schedule 2 of their probably 3 biggest games, week 1 and 2 of the season. I know these schedules are made years out, but you can probably anticipate A&M and Miami are going to be 2 of the better teams in your schedule. And they scheduled those back to back, and you bit them in the butt.
Yeah. Hummer, your thoughts on the Big Ten championship? Indiana just pulls it out, and nobody really expected that, but Kurt Cignetti, that team just finds a way. They've been doing it all year. Fernando Mendoza most likely is going to win the Heisman, and Ohio State gets their first loss of the season, but they still got their bye. Your thoughts on both teams?
Well, it was a really interesting game. I had come away with that a little concerned about Ohio State's ability to generate the run. And I think we even talked about that a little bit leading in, kind of some of the question marks I had about that offensive line against a really good defense. But I think the big takeaway is like Indiana is the most remarkable turnaround story I think we've seen in college football in forever. Like they were the losingest team in college football history up until Kurt Seganetti got there. And now they've lost one regular season game in 2 years. They're going to the playoff twice. Probably going to have a Heisman Trophy winner. They're the number 1 seed. It's remarkable. I don't think there's there's no 5-star player on the roster, I don't believe. I think there's probably less than 10 4-stars. Like, one second. So at 24/7 Sports, we have this thing called the Team Talent Composite. It basically just ranks rosters, like on high school talent, essentially. And for years and years and years, that was pretty telling of who can win a national championship. Indiana is ranked 72nd in that. I don't even think there are 70 Power 4 teams. So they are below a lot of G5 teams that are Team Talent Composite rank. And they're the number 1 team in the country. I don't think enough people are talking about how remarkable it is. Like, it is a remarkable achievement, a remarkable coaching effort, and one of the more miraculous things I think we've seen in college football before.
Does Ryan Day, Chip, does Ryan Day let Brian Hartline coach in the college football playoff? Do you think that's a good move? Because he looks pretty involved with South Florida right now, and that offense did not look good in Indianapolis.
I think he will be coaching for sure. We'll see about the play calling element of that. But yeah, I mean, like, it's a disruption for everybody. Like, Oregon's going through the same thing with Will Stein, really both their coordinators. And it's just something teams have to deal with throughout the playoffs. But as we saw with Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban, like a decade ago, like, split focus doesn't always work well in the pursuit of a national championship. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that.
Hummer, you look at the bracket, you got Indiana and Texas Tech in the same half of the top bracket. You got Georgia and Ohio State in the bottom half of the bracket, with Ohio State playing the winner of A&M and Miami. Who do you like to win it all?
I had Ohio State over Texas Tech. Was my championship game pick. Little nervous about the Texas Tech element of that. They got to go through Oregon and Indiana to get there. But I think they have the best defense in the country and the best front four in the country defensively. And I think that carries them through. Texas Tech also creates more explosive plays than anybody in the country. And I think they end up winning in the trenches against Texas Tech, or against Indiana and against Oregon, to kind of push them through. Ohio State, despite the loss to Indiana, I still think is the best team in the country. It's a team I'm willing to bet on nationally. But to me right now, there are 5 teams that can win this. It's Oregon, it's Texas Tech, it's Ohio State, it's Indiana, and it's Georgia. And the Ohio State-Georgia matchup would be very interesting. I don't know. I think Ohio State is extremely talented. I think they have the best receiving group in the country. I think they have one of the best quarterbacks. They have a top 3 or 4 defense in the country. There's just not a lot of holes for the Buckeyes. And I think they have an easier path to the national championship than Indiana, despite not being the number 1 seed.
Yeah. How concerned should Aggie fans feel about Miami coming into town?
Concerned, because Miami, when it's playing well, can beat anyone. I just don't know how well Miami's been playing. Carson Beck's been pretty inconsistent. They're really good along the lines of scrimmage, so that gives them a chance any week. Like, Miami is that good, but they turn the ball over too much. Situational football is often an issue for them. And frankly, like, Kyle Field's going to be disgustingly loud for a playoff game. Like, all of us know how loud that place can be. I don't know how well Miami's going to travel. Those are going to be very expensive tickets. It's going to be a very difficult environment to find success in. And I just have more faith in that A&M team than I do in Miami right now.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Cristobal is going to screw it up at some point. So,
he said it, not me.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the committee, you almost have to factor in the Mario factor. And that alone would have had me, putting Texas in ahead of Miami. But, yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the defenses, Hummer. I mean, the top 3 scoring defenses in college football are Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And you've got, I think, 9 of the top 12 defenses in this playoff. Texas A&M is not one of them. Miami is. But that in the past has meant a lot. So this is going to be, you almost have to factor in, okay, who has the best defense and then who has the best quarterback? Who's going to take care of the football the best? And, you like Texas Tech to get through Indiana. Aaron Morton, baby. And Julian Sayin. That's who you got in your championship game.
I feel a little bit better about one of those two quarterbacks, but Aaron Morton's going to be healthier going into the playoff, and I think that'll be really big for Texas Tech. But I will say, like, to your point, Chip, I think this is a year where good defense has tended to win out over good offense. If you look at the teams in the playoff, as you said, it's the best defenses in college football. And even when we talk about like top 12 defenses, I think there's a pretty big difference between that top 3 group you were talking about with like Ohio State, Texas Tech, and Indiana, and somebody even like an Ole Miss, which has been a very good defense this year, but like is a top 25 defense. So I think this is one of the years where that defense carries you forward and you just have to generate enough offense. And Texas Tech and Texas A&M are 2 teams particularly that I like in those situations, because maybe it's not consistent offense, which is hard to do against elite defenses like this. But what it is explosive offense. You have playmakers who can create for you. And in defensive games, those explosive plays make a big difference. And I'm sorry, Texas fans, I'm going to bring this up, but last year against Ohio State in the semifinals, I know it was a screen, but like Travion Henderson being able to do that on his own was the difference in Ohio State winning a national championship and Ohio State not winning a national championship against an elite defense. And those players on offense who can create explosive plays in games that are tight really matter. And Ohio State and Texas Tech have a lot of those guys.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Hummer, because to me, that was the beginning of the end, that giving up that screen 29 seconds left in the half by sending 8 guys backwards. I mean, just play a normal down a defense, for God's sake. If you don't give up that touchdown, you might not be scrambling there in the red zone at the end. Anyway, go ahead, Zay.
Hummer, I don't think there's a play ever that's made Ship as annoyed or upset than that play.
It cost him a national championship.
Oh, I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you.
Or a shot at the national championship, which I think they would have won.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I think they beat Notre Dame. So yeah, it's a big what if, and you can go back to the Washington game. I feel like is less of a what if. Like that was one of the craziest comebacks you would have ever seen. But Texas didn't necessarily deserve to win that game. They
had the 2 turnovers in the second half.
Yeah, but that Ohio State game was there for Texas to take.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, all Texas fans listening.
Hummer, I haven't seen a fan base so mad being in the college football playoff like I've seen with Alabama, just because they got boat race at the Benz against Georgia. They want Kalen DeBoer's head, and here they are, still in the college football playoffs, still have everything in front of them to win a national championship, but it's looking less and less optimistic for them with how they've been playing. How do you think they do going into Norman to face another team that's had offensive struggles in Oklahoma?
Oh, I think they win. I mean, I know it's a rematch. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, I think Alabama outgained Oklahoma by 250 yards the first time they played. Like Oklahoma, in my opinion, of all the host teams, is by far the friendliest matchup, even with Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. Like Oklahoma does one thing really, really well. They play defense, they create turnovers, they prevent people from scoring. But that offense is like pulling teeth. And I think Alabama, as long as it doesn't turn the ball over like it did last time, it convert more in the red zone, like they should win that game. I know Alabama fans are upset at Kalen DeBoer, but I would be very surprised personally if Alabama didn't make the quarterfinal or the quarterfinals. I think they are the better team between Oklahoma and Alabama. I think the better team tends to win out when teams play multiple times. Oklahoma has had a lot of turnover luck this year. And I'm not saying turnover luck like they aren't creating turnovers and aren't forcing them, but I think Alabama is a much more sustainable team to believe in and to bet on if I was betting than Oklahoma in that situation.
All right, Hummer, I know you're going 100 miles an hour. You got any hot scoop for us that you've just broken or any stay tuned hints for people to go to your Twitter?
Nothing right this second. I'm about to tweet
Chris
about a South Alabama
Hummer
linebacker entering the portal. So I don't know if that's going to be of interest to Texas fans, but
okay.
I
think Texas is looking for a linebacker.
I don't know if they take this one, but
okay.
Yeah, Texas seems like it's going to be looking for a lot. My understanding is.
Yeah.
Basically everything, not a quarterback, and maybe the secondary. So, it'll be interesting. And I don't know if Texas is done with staff changes either. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Hummer. You are the best. Everybody, follow Chris on the social media at Chris_Hummer, and you'll get all the scoop. Hummer, you're the best. Let's do it again next week.
Look forward to it, guys. All right.
Appreciate you, Hummer.
Yes, hole in one Hummer back into the trenches. You heard him say that Texas probably not done with staff changes, and I think that is accurate. So
the fans want Dwayne Akina out of there, which is crazy. What happened? Y'all were so hyped. What happened? It's been 4 months. Y'all were so hyped. Dwayne Akina comes in, DBU all over again. Here we go. The greatest secondary coach in Texas history. We love him. We can't wait to have him back. 4 months goes by, and now y'all want to hang him off the ledge. What happened?
Well, I mean, you think back to Dwayne Akina, you think back to the golden years, baby. Texas's first ever Thorpe Award winner, Michael Huff. And then the next year, their second Thorpe Award winner, Aaron Ross, the national championship, Michael Griffin, Ced Griffin, Terrell Brown, all these NFL talents doing their thing. But, it wasn't a great year for the secondary. Obviously, it was pretty good for 7 games, and then the 4 games at Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Georgia. Good Lord, Georgia. It got rough, and so. Were there injuries in that time frame? Yeah. Did Jalen Gilbo backslide a little bit? Yeah. And it may just be that, it's not the best fit with what's going on in that room, even though Johnny Nansen and Dwayne Akina were together in Arizona. So I don't know. It's Steve Sarkisian's got to make some big decisions.
Yeah. What about?
And by the way, real quick, Diego Pavia, SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Cassius Howell of A&M, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. What did Howell finish with? 1.5 more sacks than Colin Simmons? But hey, A&M's in the playoff. Texas isn't. Go ahead, Zay.
Yeah, that looks good for Brandon Baker and Trevor Gooseby. Like, whenever them draft talks happen, which Trevor Goosby's going through those right now. Hey, I had the Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC on clamps. 0 sacks. Player of the Year, SEC. Didn't get to arch once. Clamped up. So, yeah. When I hear Cassius Howell gets that award, I say shout out to Brandon Baker and Trevor Gooseby because y'all did y'all's dizang.
By the way, David Bailey of Texas Tech, 13.5 sacks. That is one behind Nadam Tucker of Western Michigan, who had 14.5 sacks. Cassius Howell, 11.5 sacks. Colin Simmons, 11 sacks. Let's see how many forced fumbles these cats had, because that, and I'll go ahead and pontificate, Zay, because it'll take me a second to pull up the forced fumbles.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Like, Cassius Howell's playing in the college football playoff, while Colin Simmons will be at the Cheez-It Bowl, so give him the edge there. I mean, which A&M, I still see, what's my man's name with the 3 names on the line?
Oh, yeah, the guy who shot his mouth off?
He's still talking.
Reed Adams?
Reed Adams. Like, he's on social media saying, oh, Texas, have fun in the Cheez-It Bowl and stuff like that. Like, bro, you need to worry about Ruben Bain. That's what you need to do, brother. Well, be worried about what's going on in Austin. Like, y'all got everything figured out, because if Mario coaches a decent game, I got the U. I'm throwing it up. I'm on my Michael Irvin stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a rough one. He needs to focus on what he got going on down there at College Station, because Texas, they whooped that ass a couple of weeks ago. So even though the Horns will be sitting back watching, thanks to the committee for mucking up. Y'all heard Hummer. Hummer said the committee was horrible. Horrible. And I'm right there with them. They were awful. So they lucky. But yeah, A&M, Oklahoma Tech.
By the way,
Happy.
Colin Simmons, 3 forced fumbles. Cassius Howell, 1. I mean, are you getting strip sacks or are you just getting sacks? Because Colin Simmons, strip sack. Diego Pavia, first offensive play of the game for Vanderbilt. There's a little highlight reel moment for maybe Colin Simmons to be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, but hey, that'll leave Colin hungry.
Yeah. Winning matters, man.
Yeah.
Like, Michael Jordan should have 9 MVPs, but they always gave it to the one who was the number 1 seed in the league, whether that was Barkley or Karl Malone. And then Mike had to show him in the finals who was the best in the league. Like, all right, whatever. But yeah, I Cassius Howell's good, and he's old as hell too. Remember, like, came from Bowling Green, sat last year. Like, Colin Simmons is 3 and done. Like, he ain't gonna be here for a 4th year to get better and work on things. 4th year, he'll be a rookie in the NFL. So his trajectory is a lot faster than what Cassius Howell is. So enjoy it, Cassius Howell. Congratulations, dog. I'm sure Carson Beck will be worried about him. But yeah, Colin Simmons, I expect him to still be the number 1 pick next year. Like, the edge rushers, it's not going to be as thick as it was this season. Like, Colin Simmons has all the opportunities to be that next season. And talk about somebody that doesn't have to worry about their job, like Alan Clark. I think he's sitting pretty. If I'm Sark, I might have to give him a raise, to be honest, because Alan Clark's good and young and does a really good job recruiting too.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Clark and Kenny Baker, nice job. Yeah, everyone on the offensive side, ain't nobody getting a raise after this season.
Damn, nobody?
Hell no.
What you mean? What if Mrs. Banks wants to go on vacation with the monkey?
He's already making $1 million. Texas has 4 assistants making $1 million. So, you know, they got to grind it. They got to grind it. No raises for the offense.
I think they need to bring in a tight ends coach. I think they do. I think that'd be a good move.
Well,
Jeff Banks, you got.
Did you like how Gunnar Helm got developed by Jeff Banks?
Yeah, I do. But I didn't like the way that Jack Hendries looked this year.
Yeah, well, that was part of everything got blended up with the offensive line, issues. That was rough because that affected Arch Manning's development. That affected his connection with receivers and tight ends development. It affected everything because we're talking about averaging 129.7 yards per game on the ground, the worst since 1944. That offensive line chaos was hugely detrimental. Huge. Arch is getting killed in the Florida game, and if he'd had Cole Hudson at left guard, maybe they win. Or how about Pete Kwiatkowski putting some pressure on one-legged DJ Lagway? How do you let a one-legged quarterback beat your ass? That's terrible. You got to get some heat on him. You got to make him tap out. That was awful.
Yeah, you see what the pattern is? Because we just mentioned the Ohio State game 2 years ago with Pete Kwiatkowski. Pete Kwiatkowski is going to give you one huge dud that could wreck your whole season. Wreck the whole season. One game where he's just not there. And yeah, like as good
and
as
it didn't help that Malik Muhammad went down with a hammy right before the game. Like that was
a big miss.
That was a big miss because they're trying to play one-on-one with a receiver they haven't seen. Dallas Wilson was making his debut because he'd been hurt. Oh well, that guy's the truth, and Kobe Black's out there one-on-one getting schooled, and then his confidence went down and his reps went down. Kobe Black's a good player. Kobe Black is a 6'2" corner who did it all at Waco Connolly. Like I was really excited about his development. And Mark Orfe. What's going on, playa?
Yeah. Because
Jalen Gilbo slipped. Kobe Black lost confidence. Like, Cade Phillips, we knew he was going to be a good player. He's coming. He's going to be a starter next year. Be willing to wager on that. And, but you got to, the thing Sarkisian always says, we develop our whole roster. And he has, for the most part. He's developed those second string, third string guys. Quintravian Wisner, great example of that. Of course, that was Tashard Choice. Tashard Choice develops all the players in his room, and it felt like that wasn't happening at a high level in the cornerback room. So, and look, Grayson Littleton, that guy's going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. So, it wasn't all bad, but there were some notable drop-offs.
Yeah.
And not having your safeties, that can affect the corners, the communication, who's got what. We saw that in the Georgia game. You got Taff and Gilbo both out there. They run a little switch route, and they both go with Delp, and London Humphreys is wide open for a 30-yard touchdown. So, they probably were trying too hard, but still, You got to get that fixed as a coach.
Yeah. And Terrence Joseph and Blake Gideon, they were doing it last year with Makuba, Jade Barron, and Michael Taft. And they struck while the iron was hot. They knew how good they were last year. That's why Blake Gideon got a defensive coordinator job. And Terry Joseph went to the NFL, got a good gig with the Saints. He's from New Orleans. So I'm sure that's a dream job for him. And the guys that come in, Mark Orfe, Dwayne Aquina, what are those conversations going to be like? Because we saw what happened with Chad Scott. They just let Chad Scott go. Just threw it all on him. Again, Kyle Flood, you just going to let that happen? You ain't gonna fight for Chad Scott? Ain't nobody going to speak up and be like, come on, give Chad a break. It's only year one. Travion Wisner hurt. CJ Baxter hurt. Come on, let's see what happens when the offensive line is better and when guys are healthy. What can Chad Scott do then? They said, nah, Chad, we ain't got time for that. Be gone. Go down there to Denton with Neil. Neil could use you. I'm sure Neil would take him in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat down there, Denton, North Texas. Why wouldn't you? They got history. Big reason why Chad Scott was there in the first place. Because I'm sure Sark asked Neil Brown, hey, how was this guy? Neil put in a good word for him. Bam, Chad Scott gets the job. Now, that ain't the case. So, yeah, you got to figure that out because my man, who a lot of people are high on coming in, that also said he was ready on Twitter the other day. He said, Texas football, I'm going to give y'all my all. Derek Cooper. Derek Cooper said that on Twitter. Right when CJ Baxter decided to transfer, Derek Cooper, an hour later, said, Texas football, I'm going to give you my all. Because he knows, CJ Baxter gone? Opportunity.
Oh, huge.
Opportunity come knocking.
Huge.
Derek Cooper's eyes lit up and said, I might not have to wait like I thought. So, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a Chad Scott only guy. He buys into what Steve Sarkisian is pitching. They going to bring in a high-quality running back coach to where Derek Cooper say, okay, I could work with this. I don't have to decommit. Get Travion Wisner on board. Make sure James Simon and Christian Clark get better. Got to develop those guys, man. And then find somebody in the portal. Find somebody because they haven't really gone to the portal for running backs.
No.
They haven't needed to.
They've had them stockpiled. Bijan, Rojo, Jaden Blue, Jonathan Brooks, they were all on the roster together.
Yeah.
And it was one draft pick after another.
They need to quit having these running backs get hurt, though, because now Torrey Beckman, I appreciate what you're doing. I do. But Jonathan Brooks, CJ Baxter, injury problems this year.
Well, it's the soft tissue injuries like the hamstrings that Texas had not had issues with. And then they had a lot of issues with it this year. And that's where you look at strength and conditioning. Are you making sure that these guys are hydrated all the time and doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing? Because, look, ACLs, torn ligaments are sometimes just bad luck. But hammies, groins, these soft tissue injuries, these are the ones that you pay that strength and conditioning, director, coach, whatever, to make sure don't become an issue, because your best ability is your availability. So
you could argue that them losing guys through the injury for running backs has cost them national championships. If Jonathan Brooks stays healthy, what could have been? If CJ Baxter's healthy last year and you have a three-headed monster with him, Jaden Blue, and Travion Wisner, what could have been? So that's just, it sucks. It's some serious bad luck, but yeah, it's weird that it's a coincidence too.
Yeah. All right, let's get a couple mentions in here before we get to the commentary. And here's what I love about Humann, who's, science-backed formulas. We're born from research at the University of Texas Health Science Center. Humann is making it easier for all of us to support our heart health, which, of course, my Super Beats. Heart health right there. Our cardiovascular health right there. Our healthy blood sugar, metabolic health daily. And of course, healthy cholesterol. You take all of these products from Humann with 2 N's every day, you are going to feel better. The Super Beats Heart Chews, the metabolic, the cardiovascular, and the cholesterol health daily, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel it in your body. Also, can't forget about these turmeric chews, because they help with anti-inflammation. Inflammation is what brings you pain. So we want inflammation to go down, and that's what the turmeric chews are all about. So go to humanwith2ns.com/TSU. Use the promo code TSU and load up, because there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. So get all that bang for your buck. You're going to love it. And you're going to, if you take the cholesterol, the cardiovascular, and the metabolic health daily, all 3 each day with your Super Beats Heart Chews, you're off and running. Let me tell you. Just go to humanwith2ns.com/TSU. Use the promo code TSU, and you will be glad you did. And hey, for my guys who are snoring, how about giving the gift of not snoring this holiday season, and giving the gift to yourself of making sure that you are healthy and avoiding a possible landmine? Because if you snore, it's more than just annoying to the person next to you. Could be the sign of a serious health issue called sleep apnea, which is a lack of oxygen while you sleep. So don't mess around with this. We've got a great partnership with the Sleep Cycle Center. All you need to do is go to sleepcyclecenters.com and tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. That sleep study is going to tell you exactly what level of sleep apnea you have, and Dr. Chad Denman has the best treatment options, including oral appliances like I have. A mouth guard holds my lower jaw open so I get that oxygen while I'm sleeping. Get that deep sleep. Feel good when I wake up. And hey, Cover 3, go get you some great grub, great service, great drinks. You got happy hour, 3:30 to 6:30, 3:30 to close on Mondays. You got brunch on the weekends. Yeah, you want to enjoy great food, high-end food without the high-end prices, and watch your favorite team. Cover 3 got you covered. Cover 3 Anderson, Cover 3 Round Rock. And of course, our man Tom McKay, audiovisual consultations. When you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, all you need to do is call 255-8678. 255-8678, and Tom and his crew are going to bring everything to you. He's going to bring you the best price on big screens. You don't need to go out there fighting through the holiday shopping, lugging, big screens around in your truck. Just call 255-8678. Let Tom and his crew bring everything to you. All right, Zay.
Yeah, breaking news. Steve Sarkisian will not be coaching against Sherrone Moore in the Cheez-It Bowl because he is Vince McMahon style fired. Damn, man.
We were just talking about this.
We were just talking about it. What'd he do?
There was more deception that he didn't come clean about, apparently. And the Michigan administration is like, yo, dude, you deleted all the text messages in the Connor Stallions situation, and now there's some other stuff apparently that was not okay for the University of Michigan administration. I'm just saying, keep an eye on Kalen DeBoer. Keep an eye on Kalen DeBoer. You want to see craziness?
Yo, man, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I'm taking that job before they even go to Norman, Chip. I'm taking it. The way they disrespected him, the way that he was treated at Tuscaloosa, it's been a rough 2 years. Rough 2 years, man. Unrealistic expectations. That's unrealistic expectations that they put on him, filling in for the GOAT. What do they want from the man? Disrespecting the family? Ain't shit to do in Tuscaloosa either. So all you see is that Crimson Tide red? That's all they got. Nah, man. Go to Ann Arbor. You're right by Detroit. It's popping. You're taking over for Sherrone Moore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'd leave in a heartbeat. He don't need that. He don't deserve that. That's crazy. That's crazy. They did Sherrone Moore wrong. Which, if I'm sorry, give Sherrone a call, Steve. You need a couple more analysts. Why not? I know Sherrone Moore. He just like you when you got out of Michigan. It's cold as hell up there. You want to come down to Texas, different atmosphere, environment, positivity, you know? And I feel him for deleting those messages. What else he gonna do? He trying to protect the brand. They
deny.
They know they were cheating. My man Jim Harbaugh hanging out with Justin Herbert every day, living good. Could care less about the suspension that they got on him in college football. He said he going to the playoffs in the NFL. Sherrone Moore had to deal with all the BS after the championship. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. So that's foul. They did him wrong, man. Texas better beat the hell out of Michigan in this Cheez-It Bowl, too. Like, come on. They don't even have a coach at this point. Which, if I'm Michigan, I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled out of the Cheez-It Bowl at this point. Why would you play? Like, you have to find another coach. What players are going to play now? Like, how many guys are going to back out because, oh, man, coach is gone. I got to find a spot. Whoever they hire, which, look at the coaching carousel. All the coaches that were good, unless you get Kalen DeBoer, after that, you're going to go to the NFL ranks? Like, where are they going to go? All the hot coaches got jobs now. Matt Campbell's at State College. It's tough. This is a weird time to do this. And something tells me they wouldn't have made this move if they didn't have somebody that they wanted with everything that's happened. So, yeah, college football, crazy.
Yeah. I mean, for the chip shot today, I'll just say, hey, keep an eye on Kalen DeBoer because, yeah, and I think once all the stuff comes out on Sherrone Moore, because right now it's like super fresh, but this was an off the field transgression. So this was not like stealing signals. This was a personal life choice that went sideways. And those are becoming more and more convenient as fireable offenses. This is a firing for cause. Michigan is trying to get out of paying Sherrone Moore another penny. So, yeah. Stay tuned, but keep an eye on Kalen DeBoer, because I do think that's where Michigan is going to go first. And let's see what Kalen, what he thinks of that.
Damn, man. This kind of hurts my hate watching, because if they go after DeBoer and now they got that cloud hanging over Alabama, whether he stays or goes, how locked in is Alabama going to be when they face Oklahoma? Because they're already struggling. This could be the nail in the coffin. Something like this comes up. Kalen DeBoer is professional. And who knows? He could love the challenge of Alabama and say, you know what? We've put so much into this. I can't leave. I got to be completely pushed out. But also, how many opportunities do you have where things are going wrong, even though you're in the college football playoff and these Alabama fans are still unhappy, and you're like, man, ain't nothing going to make these fools happy. And a job like this, big-time blue blood, where you're going to get all the resources that you had in Tuscaloosa, and you just get a fresh start, you might have to take it.
Yeah, and don't forget, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, is the single biggest benefactor to the University of Michigan. The business school at Michigan is named after him. It's even in sort of Miami Dolphins colors on that campus, which is crazy. It's kind of a rust-colored building with some turquoise trim. But he's also like half the fields, half the practice facilities at Michigan are named after Stephen Ross. So Stephen Ross probably going to have a say in this, and that'll be interesting, to say the least.
Yo, CB, lying. CB, come on, man. Ain't no way. My man Brett McMurphy said that.
Well,
more engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Come on, bruh. Ime Udoka showed us that's not the way to go.
It's undefeated.
I get it. You walk in, she butt naked on the table, on the desk.
All right, let's get to the right call.
She got a code. Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Let's walk out the room.
This one is, everyone's going to be shaking their head at the end of it. Like, dude, you survived Connor Stallions and you got fired over this?
Yo, let me hit this spot so we can get back into it. Shout out to Covert BK, man. Family owned and operated. Best in the business. You looking for a new car, go to Covert BK. The team, just spectacular. Everybody there is just trying to, help you find the car of your dreams. Whether it's a Buick, GMC, Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, or Cadillac, they got all 7 brands, crossovers, SUVs, trucks. You're going to find what you want. You're going to feel great in it. Just like my wife and I, when we found our Buick Encore GX, we feel great about that. Champ loves it. The whole family loves it. It's a beautiful thing. So if you're trying to get like us, go to covertbcave.com, see all the latest specials and inventory. And hell, you could pick out your car before you even touch down on the dealership. And that process, stress-free, it's easy, no anxiety needed. You ain't got to take no anxiety pills before you go, because the folks at Covert Bee Cave, they have your best interest. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. Okay. Inappropriate. Is he married? Is Sherrone married? We got to start there. Is he, because if he's married, that's where it gets tricky.
Well, it gets tricky no matter what.
What you mean no matter what? If he's single, like, we can't be kinky no more, Chip. What's wrong with doing a little on the desk? on the desk in your office?
He's married and he has 3 kids.
Oh, man. Oh, man. What's the divorce rules in Michigan? Is it bad? Is it like Cali? Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm sorry. To his wife and kids, I'm sorry. Nobody deserves to go through it. Now it's public. The kids going to be asked about it at school. Man, I heard your daddy was knocking boots with somebody that ain't your mama. That you know what I'm saying? I can see it now. No kid deserves that. And, hey, be careful because Sherrone Moore, he looks like he has hands. So if he has boys and you say the wrong thing to one of them boys, that kid has every right to sock you in the jaw if you say something outlandish like that. So be careful. But, yeah, man, that's a tough situation. That's a tough situation. I don't know homegirl who was involved. Now, we don't even know if it might not even be a homegirl. We never know. We don't know that yet. We don't know the details. Whoever was involved, they know they wrong too. You know that man has a wife and kids at home. You know what I'm saying? Showing up butt naked on the desk. It ain't good. Like, man, I'm Souls. What you want me to do, Souls? I gotta speculate. I hope she's fine. I hope it was worth it. Like, I hope she's fine. Because Ime Udoka, he threw away Nia Long for that in-house,
Yeah, Michigan has a 0 tolerance policy for like having relationships with other staff members. Some schools have that policy to where you cannot have a relationship with anyone who answers to you. Some just say, no.
So the head coach of football can't have relationships with a lacrosse coach at Michigan. I'm just trying to get the rules, man. I'm just trying to figure it out. Because if I'm Sherrone Moore, you might have to lawyer up. Because what's wrong with getting a little something? It ain't a crime. It's not a crime. Even though his morals are all whacked out, they're all out of whack. But it ain't to get fired. I don't know. I'll lawyer up. Now, again, if he's knocking her down on the desk, if he's knocking her down in the film room, you know what I'm saying? That's not, what if they role playing? He made her put on the jersey.
Oh, here we go.
Like, they made her put on the throwback Charles Woodson jersey. That, that's where it gets a little sticky. So,
he went to OU.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. He ain't all there.
But you survive Connor Stallions and you get fired over this? Come on, man. It's undefeated.
Yo, my man Ime Udoka, he thriving. He's thriving. You got Kevin Durant on the team. You cheated on Nia Long. You were coaching on the Celtics. Cheated on Nia Long. Now he's thriving. So if I'm Ime Udoka, I call Sherrone Moore and say, hey, man, right now you might feel horrible, but it will all work out. Are you a good coach? It'll all work out. It's all right. I thought Ime Udoka's life was over. We all did. Now that dude, they might win a championship this year. So Sherrone Moore, keep your head up, dog. It's about to get dark. It's about to get really bad.
What if they end up getting Kalen DeBoer? I like that. Like I think Kalen DeBoer, he's a Midwest guy. He's from Iowa. He did all of his winning at Sioux City.
Yeah.
And then he goes out to Fresno and Washington where no one's really paying attention and he's building a monster. They're going to pay attention in Michigan, but it's going to be not as crazed as Tuscaloosa. And there's no way you can ever satisfy that fan base again.
No.
Not after Saban. It's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
There's going to be struggles.
Yeah. And the Michigan fans, most likely, they still got the Lions to look forward to, the Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, and Tuscaloosa. Nah, there ain't none of that. It's Alabama football, maybe some Nate's Alabama basketball.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's Alabama, Auburn.
Auburn.
That's why you got to beat the other guy. That's why it means so much. This is why that Harvey Updike went and poisoned Toomer's corners. The crazed Alabama fan.
Yeah, did they ever lock him up?
Yeah, now he's dead.
Dang, they gave him the electric chair?
No.
I know the rivalry is thick, but wow, that seems a little
he died at 71. Yeah, no, but that gives you an indication of just how intense the passion for Alabama, that rivalry. I give Kalen DeBoer a lot of credit for saying, yeah, man, bring it on. Let's go. But I think even he's like, damn, we're in the playoff and my family's getting filleted.
Yeah, probably death threats. Yeah,
and he's got younger kids. Like his kids aren't grown. He's still got kids in, high school and stuff.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Sherrone Moore. Come on, bro. Come on.
We were just talking about this.
We're talking about it. Like, by the way, Cheez-It Bowl, they're kind of out of control with what they're doing.
What do you mean?
Apparently, they're going to be selling a Cheez-It crusted turkey leg.
Ooh, that sounds so good.
You're out of... No, it doesn't.
What?
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 I like Cheez-Its. I like turkey legs together. I don't know. I don't know. This is a lot. They're going to be selling this $25 a pop. You let me know.
25?
Yeah.
Okay, that's too much.
I mean, you see it comes with fries and stuff.
Yeah, but how about 15?
I'm
only getting one. How big is that turkey leg?
I mean, it looks normal turkey leg size.
I mean, it almost looks like one chicken leg out of the Colonel's bucket.
The turkey legs at the state fair were going for
big.
Like $20 a pop.
But they're huge.
Yeah. So this one with the Cheez-Its on it, I would expect 25 to be pretty average, but nah, I don't know.
Soul Scream said dry ass meat with cracker crust.
Yeah, you have to have some type of condiment, right? Something. I don't know what would go on it. I don't like the regular Cheez-Its, but when they make like the pizza flavors or like the jalapeno and the spicy,
I was going to ask you, what's your favorite?
Yeah, like normal Cheez-Its. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the toasty Cheez-Its and the mozzarella.
Okay, getting sedity with it, mozzarella.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the hot and spicy is fire. White cheddar.
They have a Tabasco flavor, right?
I don't see it. It might have been discontinued.
Oh. All right, let's open up the gym. Let's ask Patrick and Matt what their favorite Cheez-It flavor, if they have a favorite.
Wait, there's flavors of Cheez-Its? I thought there was just original. I only knew original. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
I like the toasted. I think the toasted
like
are the best. I haven't had the hot and spicy.
Yeah. Well, we know y'all got big headlines to get to. Sherrone Moore out.
Sherrone
That's
Moore.
wild.
Michigan. Hey, let's go 2 years without a scandal, Michigan. 2? Can we go 2?
That's what I said to Zay. I'm like, you survived Connor Stallions and you're going to get fired for diddling a staffer.
He's going to get Ime Udoka.
That's what I said.
He got major apple whited.
I hope that climax was worth it, Sherrone.
Oh, on that note, see you tomorrow.
Welcome into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. And of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Text line's open 512-222-9328. And of course, over there on the chat, Facebook, Twitch, X, and on YouTube. Yeah, big news today. We did see Jim Knowles, the new DC at Tennessee. I thought maybe that was the biggest news of the day. And then Michigan shaking things up, Matt. Shaking things up right before the transfer portal, right before the Cheez-It Bowl, the Citrus Bowl. There's, I mean, that's like this news would be big if we weren't playing them in a few weeks. But with playing them, it becomes even much bigger for us.
I honestly don't understand the timing of this thing. Like, who are you going to hire now? You already missed out on basically everybody that was thought to be available. Clark Lee has signed an extension. Mike Elko has signed an extension. Like, who else is there out there that you can think of that would be a candidate for this job? Lane Kiffin, maybe.
I mean, like, this feels like this was not a we want to fire Sherrone Moore thing. This feels like something really bad was about to be put out, and they understood, okay, it's easier for it to get ahead of this one because we don't really need to keep Sherrone Moore long term. So we were already going to try and get rid of him like after next season, probably. But now we can move. And I know Kalen DeBoer, I don't see him going to Michigan from Alabama. I mean, maybe if he loses in the first round, they can offer him a ton of money.
That would be hilarious.
But I don't know if he wants to restart a new program that soon.
We've already got a hot board from Pete Nako. Should we check it out?
Yeah, let's check out that hot board that we see already. I'm sure Kalen DeBoer's on it.
Wouldn't be shocked. All right, let's Kalen DeBoer, number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
He said he would have been a popular name at Michigan when Sherrone was hired, but was accepted the Alabama job before he took it. Brian Kelly is on the list. Lincoln Riley is on the list. Jesse Minter, the San Diego Chargers defensive coordinator. Eli Drinkwitz, who didn't he just sign an extension?
Yes, he did.
I like. How are you gonna? Has anybody ever signed an extension and then accepted a job in the same offseason?
Well, because your buyout's just so insane at that point. Normally, like it becomes.
And you think Michigan's going to pay that?
And I get, like, you're not Woodcrest. I don't think you're wrong that they're going to call Kalen DeBoer. I just don't necessarily see him going to do it. Now, maybe he may say, screw this Alabama fan base. I don't want to be here. But it feels like that's a kind of lateral move. I mean, unless you're trying to just get out of the SEC, unless you're like, the SEC's too tough, screw this, I'm going to the Big Ten, and it'll be easy.
I mean, that would make sense. That's another reason why I would do it. It's, it's a lot easier to win in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC. And before Temple of Brutus jumps in here and says, but Big Ten, I'm not saying that, the Big Ten is easy. I'm just saying there's more good teams in the SEC than there are in the Big Ten. It really does feel like if you can get into that top 4, top 5 of the Big Ten, then you're almost going to guarantee yourself a playoff spot. where you have to get into the top 6 or 7 to be in consideration for the SEC. And that's a lot harder to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just messing with us now, man. I do think that it's. I mean, look, it's interesting. There's, I mean, because also, Michigan's always wants a Michigan man. They always want their look. This could be, honestly, for Michigan. Like, I think the big part is you're going to try and stop the bleeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say this is really bad. He was fired for cause, and by CB I mean the buyout of somebody else's contract, not Sherrone Moore's. So you're right. He was fired for cause, so he's not getting his buyout. But the buyout of, like, if you bought Eli Drinkowitz out, you got to pay Missouri a bunch of money for getting a guy who just signed a new contract. So that one's a little bit tough.
If it was Connor Stallions, that would be hilarious. That's
but I'm curious if they just go and try and find like a Michigan man for one season and go, we were already planning to redo this at some point, but now we can basically do an interim for a season, which is weird, but there's like, we're not getting a top guy anymore.
That's why Jesse Minter would make sense to me, because he's a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
That one would make sense. Brian Kelly makes no sense. Like, after what just happened at LSU, how could you get the Michigan fan base excited about that guy? Kalen DeBoer makes sense, but I just don't think he'll do it.
Yeah. And he may, because if they get blown out week 1, or first round of the playoffs, they get blown out, then there will be the call, everybody at Alabama. But Alabama then has to deal with the fact that there's no one for that job. You know what I mean? And we're so far past the point where there's not really anything. There's not really the coaches left at that top level. So yeah. I think there's a lot of people that want Kalen DeBoer to bounce because they want to hurt Alabama, not because they think it's the right decision. I feel like I see some people on here that are literally just saying it because they want to hurt Alabama. And they're like, this will kill Alabama. And so, but it's huge for Texas now, Matt, because we have to look at Texas. Tom Herman's not doing anything. Come on, Joe. But
Tom Herman can't win where he is.
He's not anywhere, is he? Right? He got fired already.
Did he get fired already?
I don't know. Last year or something.
Keep track of that guy.
But for what Texas has to deal with now, you're now talking about how many more opt-outs are there for this bowl game for Michigan? How many more people are leaning towards the transfer portal now? Because they were like, well, we were here, we came for Harbaugh, and then we stayed for Sherrone Moore. But come on, like, how much you want it to go through? And there's all those other people. So if we look through what, how many more opt-outs there could be, I think that changes a lot of what this game is against Texas in the Citrus Bowl.
I mean, how many of these guys are going to stick around for the bowl game now?
I mean, because there's already less people every year, right? Like, we know that Texas is going to have a ton of opt-outs. Just happens. It is what it is. But now when you're not really like, this is what I don't get is how much was this, like, how much of a run-up did Michigan have on this? Because if you had any sort of run-up, you don't take a bowl game.
Well, also, you probably, if you have a run-up to it, you probably do this before signing day. Because now I believe that all of your recruits that you signed on National Signing Day have an opportunity to get out of their NIL or their NLI and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And think about how many guys are going to lose to the portal now that were just there because of Sherrone Moore.
Because Sherrone Moore kept, like, you had that Harbaugh Sherrone Moore. And so Jesse Minter is really the only one that makes sense because at least that is somewhat of a pushback of that. But I mean, Michigan may use this as kind of their push away of, even though they really didn't get punished, but kind of it. Look, if you're at a place, if you're Michigan, I think you're at the turning point now. Do we try and salvage what we've built through Harbaugh, or do we distance from that national championship team that clearly cheated and get away from that a little bit and try and build with somebody new in a year? Like, so that's who you get with Jesse Minter. Do you get somebody to clean up the program? I don't know how dirty the program actually is, because it felt like it was the coaches cheating more than the players. It wasn't like a player, like necessarily the players were so bad. So I don't know how much you have to bring in somebody to really clean it up so much, but do you bring in that 1 or 2 year replacement that kind of felt like Sherrone Moore was never going to be long-term anyway? Like that always felt like a holdover until he has a couple bad seasons and you bring somebody else in.
I just had the worst thought enter my brain. Bryce Underwood hits the portal,
Yeah.
goes back to Louisiana, where he originally committed to LSU, and plays for Lane Kiffin.
Well, nobody wants that.
No. I mean, look at some of these recruits they have on their 5-star plus. I mean, 5-star plus edge Carter Meadows. He's a number 2 edge in the country. Savion Hyder, the number 1 running back in the country. Titan Davis, Travis Johnson, Malachi Lee, who was down to Texas and Michigan at the very, very end and elected to stay with Michigan. Like, how many of these players are going to reopen their recruitments and get out of their NLIs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, in that Biff Poggy, I don't know how much he's keeping anybody around. I don't know.
Jamarian Vincent, a corner that Texas would probably be interested in. I mean, this is kind of what happened with Julian Sayin, isn't it?
Yeah. Similar thing. Yeah,
like he was going to be at Alabama, and then Nick Saban got fired, and then he ended up at Ohio State after he already signed his NLI.
That's a nuts transaction today. After we made fun of Penn State for weeks that they didn't have somebody, and they kind of went, and then I think Matt Campbell's a fine hire. Like that's probably a better hire than they were going to get from a lot of guys. So, they end up okay, but we have all of that. And now we get another major job opening, but the dust is kind of settled. So where do you go? And
Coach
like, I know, and like Kalen DeBoer is going to be the name that everybody at Michigan is going to say, and everybody in the SEC is going to try and get Alabama screwed because they're like, go hire Kirby Smart. Go do that. Screw the real team. I don't care about Kalen DeBoer. We can beat Alabama. Go get Kirby Smart.
Yeah, Joe, that's a really good point. I mean, you talk about all this crazy stuff that happens at these other schools, like firing with cause, and
yeah,
it feels nice for Texas fans to be like, we're a stable program at least. We don't have, all of this, all these distractions and all of this controversy. I mean, we did have the monkey thing with Jeff Banks a while back.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
And that wasn't that bad in retrospect. It was more funny than it was bad.
Yeah.
But the kid got bit by a monkey. We pole assassin. All of that. Bill Belichick is not going to to Michigan. But yeah, no, that is crazy news. I'll be curious to see when they start to have the name. We'll see if Kalen DeBoer has to come out early now and try and dispel the rumors of that, like so many other coaches have to do. I mean, that's just, and like if you are looking at the NFL to bring somebody from the NFL down, which they'd be willing to do, they've done it before. But if you try and bring somebody down from the NFL, then you have to wait a while longer to get them.
Yep. Houston Nutt. Let's hire Houston Nutt, Michigan.
All right, I've got the better name now. John Harbaugh. Come on.
Oh man. Like Sherrone Moore is a good example of why you should never sleep with your coworkers. You're just gonna get yourself in trouble, so don't do it. Like, how do you get caught doing that? Why do you do that? You're one of the most high profile positions in college sports, in sports, period. Like, if you talk about head coaches and how high profile they are, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Georgia, Alabama, those are probably the most high profile jobs in the country. And you go do something stupid like that and ruin your opportunity. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and to
What
be
was
able
his
to
position coach? What was he a position coach before? I'm gonna look this up.
Sherrone Moore before he
Yeah.
was an OC and before he got. I mean, we know that. I mean, reality for a guy like Sherrone Moore, he would have had to spend a lot of years to try and move himself up into the position that he was in at Michigan, where he was started with Michigan as a tight end coach in 2018, then moved up to co-OC and offensive line. Then 2023 was offensive line, offensive coordinator and acting head coach, and then head coach.
Guess where he went to college? Sherrone Moore.
Oh, I know. He went to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
No, because that was the whole Michigan-Oklahoma thing this year, was him playing his old school. And that's CB. I'm kind of curious if Michigan now, like how this comes out, is going to try and get out of this bowl game. I don't think they are. They
That would be
named
really
it.
unfortunate for Texas.
I don't think they are, because it does feel like they did name an interim already.
Yeah.
So you don't name an interim coach if you're not playing a game.
That's true.
So that would lead me to believe that they're still playing in the Citrus Bowl. I mean, honestly, too, I think if you don't play in the Citrus Bowl now, it feels worse than if you do. Because even if guys opt out and everything else, at least you can pretend and present an image that this happened, but we're still a united group and there's still a lot of positive things happening in Michigan. And if you cancel it, it's like, we are panicking. We didn't know what was happening. Oh, there you go, Zay. That's the one right there. Get Tom Brady up there to coach.
Everybody's already busting out the Lane Kiffin memes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to I can't really think of who you can get realistically at this point outside of the Chargers, Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's anybody.
No, I mean, there is
Urban
still
Meyer?
guys. Yeah, I don't think he's going to Michigan, but I think that you still have to find.
Oh,
I like that CB. I like that CB. Put that one up there. Yeah, that is. Hey, just look at this tennis ball and imagine Sherrone Moore is having sex with somebody in the office. So I'm just hearing. So at the end of the day, that is huge news. It's going to take a minute to go through and be like, are there still other? Because if Will Stein wasn't there, I think Will Stein would be someone you looked at.
Yeah.
You'd say, okay, well, we're keeping you in the Big Ten. Maybe we can, try and grab some Oregon people here, and we can try and do these different things. But I don't know who. I don't know who's still out there.
Did Kenny Dillingham sign a extension?
I don't think so, because their season wasn't very good. So it'd been weird for him to sign one.
That's one to think about.
Yeah.
He could win there fast. Get Sam Leavitt to come with you.
I just don't. He's never been anywhere close to. I mean, I guess he was at Oregon for a year, but he's never been anywhere up around that area.
Yeah.
If I'm hiring somebody I don't want to hire, I'm at least hiring someone from the area. You know what I mean? I'm at least going to try and get somebody that knows where we're trying to recruit from in that area. And Kenny Dillingham. Yeah, go get Nick Saban. Perfect. Daddy, I'm sure he wants to come out of retirement right now. Come back in.
At Michigan State.
Yeah. Go get Mac Brown. Mac Brown will come back and coach some more.
Yeah. Barry Switzer would be another one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go with a younger name at this point. Unless you are really like, okay, there's more problems behind the scenes and someone needs to not just clean up like the students, but needs to clean up the program. And then you have to bring in somebody to go do that. But I mean, there's not like James Franklin was the only good coach name that got fired this year. Like where you say that guy should get another job right away. Everybody else, you're like, you need to step away from the game for a minute. You shouldn't be a head coach again right now.
Dan Mullen is an idea.
Yeah. I mean, what did they do this year though?
They were okay. I think they were like 9-3, 10-2, maybe.
And I don't think that Dan Mullen's a guy that you're like, again, I go with somebody that's like there's guys that I'd just be like, you're a Michigan man and I'll hire you because at least our fan base will be somewhat more happy about this than Dan Mullen, who I'm like, you're going to be at best an 8-win, 9-win guy.
When did I say Nick Saban was fired? I never said Nick Saban got fired.
No, he said he was at Michigan State.
Yeah, he was at Michigan State. I didn't say he got fired.
Yeah. Or maybe you got it that we said fired coaches and he brought in Nick Saban. I don't know. We were talking about
yeah. I was just randomly saying the Nick Saban name.
We're aware that he wasn't fired at Alabama. We're pretty aware of that. So maybe that was what the misunderstanding was. Lincoln Riley, I don't know if they would go earlier or if you misspoke. If someone misspoke, Nick Saban was not fired.
I don't know. Nick Saban was never fired.
And Dan Mullen doesn't want to recruit. I don't know. I don't know what the name would be. I don't know what the name would be for Michigan. We'll have to keep listening and keeping our ear down to it. I did want to bring up this though, is the the running back position. Now, as we've got a little bit more time after that, because that broke during our show yesterday, that there's a couple names for running backs coach now, Matt. And I know you just put out the article a little bit earlier on Texas Longhorns on SI about your hot board for the name. And Jabbar Jalouk is one of the big names out there. And that is a name that, to me, there's two parts of the interesting part. Well, probably three. One is we've had a lot of running backs in Florida. Two is they have a running back we would love to take in Jaden Ball. And three, he's really hot and a lot of teams are looking at him, which would make sense why that move was so quick and done right now and maybe not done after the bowl game, maybe not done down the road. Why that Chad Scott move was done now was to try and make sure you can go get a name, because we've seen that name. I've seen Stan Drayton's name be thrown around and some other that he's maybe taking another job right now. So there's a bunch of names being thrown around, but I've seen Jabbar Jalouk is definitely a front runner for what he's developed in Florida. And, definitely one of those names that you throw in there that if he comes, you're really trying to pitch Jaden Ball hard.
Well, it kind of feels like Jaden Ball is staying put. I believe there was a Florida insider that came out and said he was about to sign a new NIL deal, which would make it pretty hard to lure him away. But Jabbar Jalouk did bring him to Florida. He has a really good history with running backs. He coached Leonard Fournette at LSU. He coached Darius Geis at LSU. He had Elijah Mitchell at Louisiana. So there's a good history of him with running backs, averaging a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards per carry. And, Jaden Ball is a really good example of that, because he wasn't this all everything guy coming out of high school. He was committed to Arkansas, and they got him to flip kind of at the last minute. So he's a really good evaluator of talent. He's a really good developer of talent. And it just kind of makes sense. Like they want to have that footprint in Florida, but he's also got a major footprint in Louisiana as well.
Yes.
He was at Edna Karr High School for a while. He recruits that area very, very well. So, I mean, he would probably be my first call, regardless of whether or not you're able to lure Jaden Ball away, because you know that he's going to be able to develop and evaluate talent very, very well.
So he's up there with the two big calls, because Rashad Samples, I think, is also one of those first calls you make. But the Jalouk one is, you see the other names he's on, but if you're finishing your agents going, all right, we're picking between Kentucky and Arkansas, and then they go, the Longhorns just called. It feels like you're going to go tell the other guys they have to wait for a minute. And you're going to go meet with the Longhorns because just the tradition and the history of great running backs at Texas and Doak Walker Award winners and Heisman, and you get Ricky and you get Earl Campbell, and like that world, it feels like you may say, I'm going to go ahead and go talk to the Longhorns for a minute and say if they could get there. And look, I love Dallas Wilson too. That kid is a beast. But I think that you're right. Jaluk is a guy that you definitely call right away. You make that one. And then the other one is Rashad Samples. And it feels like Jaluk may be a little bit easier to get because of because he's been let go. He's not currently working.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to go to Rashad Samples where he is a assistant head coach right now. And so do you have to put an OC title on? Like, do you have to keep bumping him up in titles? So it's not just about money at a certain point. It's about long-term money, which is trying to be a head coach. So do you have to bump him up in a title? And how long do you think you can keep him? Where Jaluk was just at Florida for 4 years, you may be able to keep him for a little bit longer. But I think Rashad Samples, again, the huge ties, of course, to Dallas area football. He has developed a lot of players, or been around a lot of great players. He is a great, great recruiter. But that's another name that you have to put out there if you always pick up the phone and call to see where he's at.
Yeah, and you made a good point yesterday about why he wouldn't necessarily be a good choice. It doesn't seem like he stays anywhere longer than a year or two. I mean, he was at SMU for 3 years, but he had 3 different positions at SMU and kept getting promoted so that he wouldn't get away. And then finally, he was able to. He went to the Rams, and then he went to Arizona State, and then he's at Oregon. The main reason you bring in Rashad Samples is for recruiting, in my opinion, just because he has the ties around the state of Texas, the Duncanville ties, all this different stuff. DeCorian Moore and Jalen Lott went to Oregon largely because of Rashad Samples. So he recruits a lot of different positions as well. He doesn't just recruit running backs. He's really good at recruiting receivers.
Yeah.
And Oregon struggled his first year there running the football a little bit, but then this year they really ramped it up, and now they're I think the number 14 running attack in the country and the number 2 running attack in the Big Ten. So I think he'd be good. He's the one that on my hot board that I put out that is probably the least likely in my opinion, but one would be, that would be amazing if they could get him just specifically for recruiting purposes. And hey, Sooner Cowboys, I appreciate that thought, but we've known about Rashad Samples for a long time.
Yeah, he was at Texas before. We know Rashad Samples is.
Yeah, he was a candidate for the job last year.
Yeah, he definitely was.
We just couldn't pull him away.
Another interesting one on your list, Matt, is Frank Wilson. He was the interim head coach for LSU before they brought in Lane Kiffin. His big issue, and so he's a really great recruiter as well. We know he's developed a lot of running backs at LSU. He'd like to stay at LSU. I think if Lane Kiffin wants to keep him and wants to find a job for Frank Wilson, he will probably stay there. Family's there, his life's there. I think that's where he wants to be. Now, if Lane Kiffin walks in and says, I've got other guys, we're moving you out, then maybe you'll get another phone call from him. I don't know if he's going to be available in the time frame they want to hire somebody. Let's put it that way. They may have to move on because he may be waiting to hear about what Lane Kiffin wants to do and have those meetings. They may move on from that. Also, another trend is, other than Dwayne Akina, Sark really has been trying to bring in younger guys than older guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Just traditionally, he likes to bring in position coach wise guys in their mid to late 30s, early 40s. It's kind of the oldest he gets for position coaches. And Frank Wilson's older than that. So it doesn't necessarily fit the mold of a Sark position coach. That being said, who knows? You can change. If you think this guy's a guy, great recruiting ties in Louisiana. But I think that is another interesting name on there. I'm just not sure if he's going to be ready to take another job in the time frame that the Longhorns probably want it to be decided.
Yeah, that would be a big hang up. like you said, he's 52 years old, so he's kind of outside of that range that they typically go for. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but that is outside of the range. Here's my issue with Frank Wilson. Unbelievable recruiter. The best recruiter in the state of Louisiana in terms of like having connections with everybody in there. He signed the number one player in the country as an interim head coach for LSU, convinced him to stay. He signed, I believe, 11 5-stars for LSU over the past few years. But my big issue with him is their running game was really, really good during his first stint with LSU. It was the worst rushing attack in the SEC this year.
Yeah.
So how much of that was offensive line? How much of that was play calling? How much of it was this? How much of it was that? I don't know. But, you talk about Texas having its worst rushing attack since 1944. LSU's was markedly worse this year, which is saying something. So, again, probably third or fourth on my list of all of these guys in terms of the ones that make sense. But in terms of his recruiting chops, there's not much better out there.
Then a couple of younger names that Texas always has in these searches. These are a lot of times, sometimes these are kind of their contingency plans if nothing else comes through. And sometimes they have some names and some people they interview that they want to know for down the road. Start to build those relationships with some of these guys that maybe in a couple years you want to be able to say, well, now, young man, you've now built and recruited better and you've done all that. Now we want to bring you in for a better role. But we'll start with E.J. Barthel you have on your list, Matt, who is currently the Nebraska's running backs coach. A guy who's worked with Kyle Flood before. He's been around for a little bit now. He was brought in to work at Nebraska. Again, younger name, maybe not the best recruiter, maybe not, he hasn't really fully developed a track record yet because he is a younger guy, but an interesting name, Matt.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is his connection to Kyle Flood. And he had a really good running back this year at Nebraska. The guy almost had 1,500 yards rushing. Overall, that rushing attack was kind of okay, but they had production at the position. He's not the best recruiter in the world, but from what I hear, he's extremely intense, and that's kind of a personality that I think that they would like to bring to the room. Kind of just a new way of going about things, being a little bit more physical, a little bit more intense and fiery. So maybe that's a reason that he's kind of in the mix for it. He's the name that I'd probably be least excited about on this list if I'm Texas, and that's no disrespect to him. It's just, the track record with Nebraska is it's like they were one of the best rushing teams in the Big Ten his first season there, and then it kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of overall production, but they have had good running backs there.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we're kind of looking at that as these we're getting into the Chad Scott options here. And last year you kind of looked through some names and maybe you're a little behind the 8 ball. You seem to be ahead of it this year a little bit more. The last name you have on your list over there at Longhorns on SI is Norval McKenzie, who is a Georgia Tech running backs coach and run game coordinator. This is a guy who the Georgia Tech run game has been really, really good. A lot of that is on the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird flip between the two. But also worth noting, you did just lose your head of player development or player head of scouting in Aaron Joe, who is going to North Texas, who is a Georgia Tech guy. So you may be trying to replace some of that connection to Georgia. And this is a name that would tie into replacing some of that recruiting connection into Georgia. I think that's kind of how that makes sense, that you at least want to have the connections there. You want to keep every connection you can in Georgia because there's a reason why that Georgia team's so good every year. It's because Atlanta is the number one place to make NFL talent. They produce more NFL talent than any other city in the U.S. And so you have to have a footprint there. But I feels like that maybe is more of a recruiting one than necessarily, again, the hire that you really want to make.
Yeah. The Atlanta foothold is a really important thing for this Texas program for sure. So if they can find a way to replace that, this guy's also on the younger side, which fits the mold. He's had a lot of success at previous stops. He was really successful at Louisville when he was there. They ranked third in the ACC in 2019 in rushing. They ranked 24th in the country. The next year, they were fourth in the ACC, 29th in the country. He's got SEC ties as well. He played at Vanderbilt and he coached at Vanderbilt. So he's got the SEC track record. And, Georgia Tech has ranked first in the ACC in 2023 in rushing, and they've ranked number 2 each of the last 2 years. He was really good with Jamal Haynes when he got there. He was a really good running back. But, you're right. Haynes King has been a major part of that rushing attack over the last couple of years as well. And I don't think that Texas is going to use Arch Manning in the same way that Georgia Tech uses Haynes King. So can he do it a more traditional way? Sure, he did it at Louisville. But that would be an interesting one for me just because he's younger. He's got the Atlanta foothold. He's got SEC experience. He's developed a pretty good running back in Jamal Haynes. So there's some things there that to keep an eye on that are interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you. So there are interesting names. You want to check out that article, go check it out on Texas Longhorns on SI that Matt put out earlier with some of the names. We'll probably start to hear a little bit more. It would surprise me if we don't have a name hired here within 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do want to get somebody into the program and start getting them feeling good and maybe get them around for bowl prep and everything else to kind of see how this stuff is going if you can get them in that quickly. But you want to get your name hired. You don't want anybody else to steal away like a Jabbar Jaluk or, especially if Samples takes another job. You don't want to lose some of your top names before you get a chance to go interview them and offer them the job. But I also want to bring up this question, and this is for everybody in the chat on the text line too. But Matt, for you, about what kind of support staff you would want. Now, we know last year they brought in, some help with tight ends. They brought in some help with tight end blocking, especially. They brought in some help for special teams. And they tried to bring in a couple of extra little support staff. And then they brought in Neil Brown, who was, a former coach who was supposed to help in the running game. Clearly didn't work. But that's who they brought in to maybe help with the running game a little bit more. So they kind of they bring in support staff. So this isn't necessarily, I'm not talking about bringing in another running back, like position coach, but the guys you can kind of stick around that. The support staff that you can now have in a more unregulated NCAA staff hiring that you can have, where you can bring in more analysts and bring in more people around that. Seeing where Texas problems are, seeing where they've developed some and not, where, Matt, would you start of analyst help and, not position coaches, but off position, technically analysts, but kind of in realms? Where would you start?
Well, I kind of want to see where this Michigan fallout ends up because, some of their staff is probably going to become available, I would imagine.
Yeah.
The Florida staff would be really interesting to me. Bringing in, obviously, if you bring in Jabbar Jaluk, like that's a big win, but he's really connected to Billy Napier, so maybe you could bring him as an offensive analyst because they really excelled at running the football when he was at Louisiana, and still while he was at Florida, the play calling wasn't there, and some of the in-game decision making wasn't there. But that's not what you're asking him to do. So that would be an interesting one. My main focus would be offensive line, though. I think maybe something in the secondary. I'm not sure where you go to find that, but they obviously need another voice in the room in the secondary, especially in my opinion. I don't know that Dwayne Akina is going to return next year or not. It seems to be trending that he won't, but we'll see what they end up making a decision to do. In this day and age, bring in as many analysts as you can possibly bring in.
Yeah. So would you look at a Sam Pittman as an analyst this year as like a former head coach and go, hey man, offensive line, let's bring in, let's help you. You're a really good all line coach. We know what you've done in the past. I think that's a type of guy you'd be looking at and trying to bring in some guys like that. Cause again, we know Sark doesn't typically bring in position coaches that are older. And he may, but that's just kind of Sark's MO of hiring is he kind of has age ranges where he expects you to be at that age. And if you're not there, then, maybe he doesn't want the old school philosophy or whatever it is. He just has tried to hire guys that I think he feels may stick around for a little bit longer, but not stick around forever.
Mhm.
Still have a momentum for trying to be something bigger than what they're at. But you can bring in those guys as analysts. You can bring in those guys to help you out at different positions on the field. And that's one that, for Dwayne Aquina, I wonder if there's a world of, do you move him to analyst of some sort and say, here's your nice retirement now, Dwayne? Or is he going to fight that tooth and nail because of who he is as a person, which I would fully understand. That's why you have a great football coach. But you could try and have that kind of thing where you go, we're going to do that and we're going to hire some new guys. We're not getting rid of you, but we're going to move you off of where you're at. And we still want your input. We still want your brain being around the program, but you didn't necessarily get the results we needed out of those young players last year, or they could keep them all together. Again, I wasn't in those rooms to tell you what was happening, but I think you start offensive line and secondary. Are there any other positions, Matt, that you would really look at and say, like, again, we talked about last year, they brought in a guy from, I think, Oklahoma State to help out with tight end blocking, which is a weird, like, smaller thing, but that was like his specialty. Is there anything like that you go, a guy who has like that real specialty of a thing where he's not a position coach, but that guy teaches one thing really well?
I don't know that there's a lot of other positions that I would really need a big focus on. Maybe something in the wide receiver room to help with, some of these younger guys. Really for me, it's just offensive line and secondary though. Like Texas made a big stride in the offensive line room when they hired Paul Christ a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then, he obviously he obviously left and went somewhere else for a new job. So I think Sam Pittman would be a good name to bring in there. Then they also hired Gary Patterson a couple years ago. He made a lot of help this Texas defense make a lot of progress. So maybe you bring in a defensive guy, but yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different places you could bring in analysts, but I feel like, what you kind of have to do when you're talking about that is look at the two areas where they really struggled this year. And that was offensive line. And that was in the secondary with communication and broken coverages and those kinds of things. And maybe part of that gets fixed with a new, safeties coach and passing game coordinator. But I think that those are the two positions where you really would see something different. And that's another reason why I look at Billy Napier as well for an offensive analyst, because to help improve the running game.
I thought Billy Napier got a new job.
Oh, did he?
I think
he did. He's James Madison coach. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so he's off the list. So yeah, I mean, like you need to look around at some experienced people, and maybe you keep Dwayne Aquina. You just move him to an analyst role, and you bring in a new position coach.
Yeah.
You just have to find ways to shore up those two things, because honestly, if you fix those two things and you bring back a lot of these important players and these key players, then you're in really good shape. And it's because those are the two things that were holding you back for the majority of the year.
Yeah, I think that, you're constantly trying to figure out those different pieces. So I'll be curious as we start to see some of these names come in, where they start to aim. Is it, do you bring in somebody who is really a man specialist in like teaching man coverage? Just teaching all those little, like different little pieces instead of the entirety of being a DB, but just here's some man principles this guy does really well, because you need to be able to play more man. Like that, we were laughing at watching that Alabama game and how much zone they played. And I'm like, Nick Saban hates zone. Nick Saban has to be throwing stuff at the TV right now because he's like, stop playing so much zone. Play some man. If you can't, you're going to get killed. But this is a world for Texas. They're going to have to figure out where they want to go. We'll see if there's more changes. Of course, there's going to be more people as bowl season starts to wrap up. Then you'll get even more changes through this. The Chad Scott one just felt like maybe because Jabluke was out there that they did this one before the bowl game. Normally, you would wait till after a bowl game to make these kind of moves. So that one still to me feels like it may not be him. Maybe it was somebody. Maybe it's somebody else whose name is on that list that they're like, we got to make this move now instead of later. But yeah, I don't know if we've seen our last coach get let off by Texas, let go by Texas. I don't think that's. I'm pretty sure someone else will be gone. But they normally wait till we'll see that in January. January they'll say, okay, now we're gonna make some moves and get somebody else instead of right before your bowl game where you're doing practices and you're still trying to work those things out.
I wonder if there is turnover on the Michigan coaching staff, how many of those guys become available. Wink Martindale, I'm sure, would be a guy that Texas would love to hire as an analyst, but I imagine he'll probably get a defensive coordinator position either somewhere in college football or in the NFL. Trying to find who else is on their staff, because that's a staff you could poach. That's a roster you could poach.
Yep. And I mean, I think I think you're getting into now because there is so much tribalism between the SEC and the Big Ten, which we don't help with. But that it may be a little bit harder to poach from the Big Ten if you're the SEC, and maybe harder to poach from the SEC if you're the Big Ten. Now, there's going to be guys who get out and want to go do that and want to take the other moves. We saw Caleb Downs is probably your biggest example of a really great player going from one to the other. But I think there may be something when you're trying to actually poach off a team like that they may say, well, I wanted to play Big Ten football, and I'm not leaving because I hate Big Ten football. I'm leaving because my coach maybe did some inappropriate things. And so I'm leaving for different reasons. So I'd want to go to a better school, like a school in the Big Ten that I feel is a better fit for me than going down to the South. Not everybody, but I feel it's a little bit harder. Like when we talk about poaching from Florida or poaching from LSU or Alabama, that always feels a little bit easier because they were recruited on playing in this conference. And so you're not having to sell them a new conference. You're just selling them a new place to be in the conference.
Yeah, that's true. The one name that really is on my mind from this Michigan staff, though, is Lamar Morgan. He's the defensive passing game coordinator and the defensive backs coach. He played for 4 years at Louisiana Lafayette, or now Louisiana. He coached at Western Carolina. He coached at Louisiana Monroe. He coached at Vanderbilt. He coached at Louisiana again. And then Michigan hired him from Louisiana. So he's got some Southern ties. He's got ties to Louisiana. He's a really good coach. So that would be one that would be super interesting to me. Obviously, we're just kind of talking about, hypotheticals at this point. But hey, if that staff is gonna be, if anybody on that staff is going to be available, that's a name that has ties to similar to what Texas has been looking for of these other coaches.
Yeah, I like it. Also, Matt, let's hit a couple right before we hit the break before hour 2 of the show. We did see the 2025 SEC Football Individual Awards come out. And maybe some people feel there was a slide in this one. I feel like it could go either way, but I get the argument. Not here. Offensive Player of the Year is Diego Pavia. Again, he's going to be in New York. So not shocking that he is the Offensive Player of the Year for the SEC. I think some people did want to look at the Defensive Player of the Year and the matchup between Cassius Howell and Colin Simmons. And statistically looking at them, they're not too far apart from each other. I think we can look at the two of them and say Colin Simmons played better at the end of the year possibly than Cassius Howell did. Cassius Howell played better at different points. And specifically the Texas A&M game, that Colin Simmons probably had a better game there. I'm not super upset, but I do think Colin Simmons may be getting the short end of the stick a couple times because of, again, and we'll talk about that Georgia Louisville canceling it. That game hurt Texas in a lot of ways. And not just not making the playoffs, but like how many people watched that game and then thought Colin Simmons probably wasn't the same player for 7 weeks when it was really the Florida game is when he turned it on. And when you saw him figure it out, because I remember seeing him figure it out in the Florida game. So again, I'm not saying we don't want to play that game. Just saying that you could tell that you're like, so maybe some people look at that and go, oh, Colin Simmons struggled for a lot of the season. You go, he struggled for Ohio State when he was pushing too much there. And then he didn't necessarily have the non-con that you wanted him to have, where he should have racked up 5 sacks, 6 sacks in the non-con. And then been able to walk into SEC play with this really good lead of things. What's your thought on Cassius Howell versus Colin Simmons in the Defensive Player of the Year?
I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs at a certain point, in my opinion, when it comes to the two of those guys. There are very few players in America that have as much impact on a game as either one of those guys. They're kind of in a conversation of their own when it comes to edge rushers, them and like David Bailey at Texas Tech. Maybe another guy here or there. But, for what it's worth, Colin Simmons was graded higher on PFF scores across the board. He had 41 pressures, but Cassius Howell had 41 pressures, and Colin Simmons had 53 pressures. They're right there with sacks with each other. According to CFBstats.com, Howell has 11.5. Simmons has 11. So it's you're really splitting hairs. Texas A&M had the more successful team this year on the field. They're in the playoff. He was the best player on the best one of the best defenses in the SEC. So it makes sense to me. You could have gone either way. And he went viral a couple times, so maybe that had something to do with it.
It maybe did. It does feel like maybe they're trying to give Texas A&M some respect as well. They also gave the blocking trophy to Caden Proctor and Trey Zune. I don't know if Caden Proctor deserved it. I get he's a hell of a player. I don't know if his season really deserved this award personally, but it's someone who's watched a lot of Alabama this year, watched a lot of SEC. I feel like there may have been some other players that maybe were a little bit ahead of him, including Trey Zune, who could have just got it out right. And then an interesting other one, Clark Lee winning the Coach of the Year, Matt. This one feels like in most years, Clark Lee's kind of the easy runaway favorite to take a Vanderbilt team and put him up to number 14. If Elko beats Texas, he wins this, right?
100%. Yeah. Then you have the only undefeated team in the SEC at that point. It's kind of hard not to give it to you.
Yeah.
I think Elko should have won it. I thought he did a tremendous job this year. It's a lot harder to win at Vanderbilt than it is at Texas A&M, though. So maybe that's kind of something that went into it.
No, I'm with you. I think that there is, I get, and that's what I'm saying is any other year, you would go, well, if Sark's there at Texas and Kalen DeBoer's there at Alabama and Lane Kiffin's at Ole Miss and everybody and Vanderbilt's a 4-win team. If you're undefeated as A&M, you have to go, well, A&M hasn't been good in a while. They haven't been this level team in a very long time. So give some credit to Mike Elko that he's found the way to make it work. But it feels like he got cost that award by losing to Texas. Mm-hmm. But I can also know it's nice that Texas beat the number 1 and number 2 guys on this list. Kirby's probably number 3, so we didn't beat him. But number 1 and number 2. I mean, Lane Kiffin technically could be. It feels like he wouldn't be at this point. They'd done this voting a couple weeks ago. Maybe he would be. Maybe now not so much. But we don't have all the rankings. But yeah, that one's a little surprising to me. I think you could go either way. They are saying it's a lot harder to win at a team that is doing that. What you want to say about what Pavia is and give the credit to Pavia where he's lifting up at Clark Lee, or do you want to say that Clark Lee is lifting up Pavia? The truth is it's probably somewhat of both. So I don't really have a problem with them getting it. I just thought Elko normally would say, well, they were undefeated till the last game of the season, taking a team that nobody had picked to be anywhere around there. I think people had picked them and Vanderbilt to be around the same space. and Vanderbilt probably did around maybe a little bit better than we thought they would be, and A&M did way better than we thought they would be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Vanderbilt might be the hardest job to win at in the SEC by a long shot.
Yeah.
So what he's been able to do with that program over the last couple of years, I don't remember who won Coach of the Year last year. But maybe it's like, okay, he's done this 2 years in a row and turned this program completely around in a place that is usually a barren wasteland for college football. Let's give him the credit he deserves for doing that. That kind of feels like what it is to me. He did last year too. Well, then I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was within a score or like within an onside kick against Texas, maybe, of going 11-1 and making the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. And I think they had Alabama within a score in the fourth quarter too.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Eli Drinkwitz won it the year before. So you can't ever give it. I mean, do you think Kirby's mad that he doesn't get to win this every year? I am the best coach. I'm the best. You can't keep taking that away from me. We'll also mention that Georgia and Louisville did cancel their non-cons. They have pulled out of both non-cons, Matt. That Georgia, and this is, again, I think there's a bit of a misnomer about the Texas-Ohio State thing, and this is just Kirby Smart taking a chance to take the easier route. That's all this is. But like, and for Louisville, it makes sense. For Louisville, they're like, well, we're definitely gonna lose that game. We're definitely gonna lose that, and it won't do anything for us. But for Georgia, you should be like, yeah, we could destroy Louisville 100 out of 100 times. We'll destroy them. We're just a much better team than them, and we'll probably always be a better team than them. For Texas and Ohio State, it was, oh, well, we played, either team could lose this because they are really, really good non-conference games. I didn't like that Urban Meyer said that Ohio State should cancel that game with Texas, and I'm like, that's real Bush League. If you just take the money and run and don't, I'm like, you have to sue them or give whatever penalty, hundreds of millions of dollars that you're going to lose for that game, or millions of dollars, or whatever it is that you're going to lose in revenue for canceling that game. To go, you can't have us go there and then cancel it.
Yeah.
You got to come here. Like that's Bush League. So try and cancel it. I get you're scared that you're going to lose it, and the same way happened to us. But yeah, teams starting to cancel that now. I'm curious who made that phone call first. Was it Georgia or Louisville? If I'm Georgia, that feels like a fine matchup to me. Like, I get Louisville's not the bottom of the Power Four, but it's a mid-tier ACC team.
I 100% believe it was all on Louisville for canceling that game, because they look at it and they're like, well, our best hope in the ACC is to go 10-2 and make it into the ACC championship game. We can't afford a third loss. Whereas Georgia's probably like, yeah, we'll beat Louisville 35-7. So it feels like a Louisville thing to me 100%. And I think that Houston and LSU scheduled each other for 2026 or 2027, which was kind of surprising to me on Houston's part.
Yeah.
Like, why are you... Lane Kiffin's going to have a good team by 2027. If you're going to do it next year.
Yeah, get out of the way.
So, I don't know.
Well, but then again...
They're playing in the bowl game, too, this year, aren't they? The Texas Bowl?
Houston?
Yeah.
I did not know. I'm unaware.
I think they're playing each other in the Texas Bowl this year.
So they're just setting up for another adventure down the road. All right, Matt, let's take our first break. When we come back, we've got to get in to our NFL power rankings. I also want to get into some coaching hot seats and some rumors around some college coaches that could go pro and really shake up what is already one of the craziest coaching carousels that has happened so far in a while. But why don't we take our first break? I'm going to take a lozenge, try and get my voice better. And we'll come back here in 2.5 minutes right here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
At Sleep Cycle Center, we can treat your sleep apnea in various ways. My story starts 15 years ago with the loss of my father to undiagnosed untreated sleep apnea. And this is a very preventable disease, and treatment options are various. Millions of people across America have sleep apnea, and they fail to realize the early warning signs. Fatigue, daytime sleepiness, and snoring are the most common signs. We'll find the best solution using advanced technology, oral and epigenetic appliances, or CPAP. We offer weight loss, oral surgery, and laser treatments. Schedule your appointment today and get your sleep evaluation.
If you're looking to remodel a kitchen, renovate your bathroom, or maybe add some new life to your outdoor space, reach out to our friends at McCall Custom Homes. They are custom home builders and renovators here in Central Texas, and they've been doing it in Central Texas for more than 40 years. It's a father-son team with a ton of experience, and all of that experience is here in the Austin area. So they know what it takes to turn an Austin area home into something truly, truly special. Right now, our friends at McCall Custom Homes are offering free estimates to TSU listeners so they can come out to your place, hear your vision, they can tell you what they can do, and then you can go from there. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com. Look at the gallery of jobs they've done over the last 4 decades. And then when you're ready, again, reach out to them and they will come to you. McCallCustomHomesATX.com, or you can call or text Mike McCall directly at 512-633-9580. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street. Hold the door for people behind us. Tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before. Give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt. Sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop. Watch some games with your friends and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics. But more importantly, have a great holiday season and a fucking awesome next year.
Welcome back into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. And, of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Text line's open, 512-222-9328. And, of course, over on the chat, Facebook, X, and on YouTube. Apologies for my voice again. Nasal, something happening last couple days that has not been a ton of fun. No fever, not really sick, just not fun. Just not fun. That's what it is, Matt. So, got an event I'm supposed to be at tomorrow, and I'm hoping that I'm just taking a lot of meds right now, trying to see if I can figure out what it. But it's hard when you're like, I don't know what this is. I know it's just in my face, nothing in my chest, nothing down below. Maybe to make throat up is all I've got. So I'm trying to figure out what meds I need to take to try and quell this a little bit more before tomorrow evening, and try not to sound bad on this show every day either, and lose my voice and cough and do all that stuff. So we're trying to get through that, but we'll get through that. And big news broke earlier. Sherrone Moore fired from Michigan for inappropriate relations with a staffer. This is it. I don't think it affects any team more than Texas. I mean, clearly Michigan. But Texas does play them at the Citrus Bowl, and then we're playing them again in 2027. So we have 2 lined up matchups. So maybe you could say a Big Ten, it affects more because the Big Ten's going to poach. And now you had a team that you were kind of building back up. We talk about the Big Ten, Matt, and, the hierarchy of it. And now that Penn State has fallen out and they're going to have to try and rebuild. And is Michigan going to fall out of that now too? Like, are they like that mid-tier is just kind of getting beat up right now of the Big Ten? You're like, you guys got to have a mid-tier. You kind of get some guys in there, but you figure somebody else. Normally, when these things happen, somebody else steps up into those ranks. I just don't know who's going to be able to be that team that steps up into it. Will it be Lincoln Riley and USC? Will it be Washington? Will it be somebody like that steps up into that next level for the Big Ten? but they've got to find some people because if Michigan's going to be down for a couple years, if they're not able to find somebody this year and have to kind of rejigger things for a little bit, it's going to be tough. But that's what you got to do. It's what you got to do, Matt. When you have a scandal a year ago and then a second scandal, you're like, we can't do back-to-back scandals. We have to stop something in here. We can't be Baylor. We don't want to be Baylor. So we're going to try and stop one of these scandals at least. So I'll say is hats off to Michigan for actually doing the right thing instead of trying to cover it up. It's as bad as that sounds.
Well, if you're Michigan and you cover two things up in a row, then you may get some real penalties. But
exactly.
I still I don't know who they're going to get, man.
I don't know.
The timing of it is so weird, considering this investigation has been going on since November.
Yeah, I don't
fire him in November.
Yeah, as soon as the season ends, when you see everything else, just go okay. And I know you probably couldn't fire him for cause until you had a couple things done, and that may have been what it was, where you're like, well, we can't fire him until we can literally know we can get away with it.
Yeah, because
we don't want to pay him a buyout. I can't imagine his buyout was that big, and you'd be like, well, we'll pay, and then he has to pay it back to us when it's fired for cause, and we can. But I would have at least been trying to call coaches and have somebody online, unless it's Kalen DeBoer. Unless it was Kalen DeBoer. You never heard that phrase, hair of the dog? Never heard that one? I thought you're throwing in a David Spade joke. Is that what movie is that? Joe Dirt? Is that Joe Dirt?
Maybe.
With the throw a niner in there.
Great movie.
Oh, maybe it'd be Tommy Boy. Maybe it'd be Black Sheep. I don't know. It's one of the David Spade movies. But yeah, it's an interesting one to see come down this late in the coaching carousel. Like, once Penn State hired Matt Campbell, you can't be behind that. You cannot be behind the team that was last.
Well, I wonder if they have been doing a coaching search kind of like under the radar.
Yeah, but who's there?
Well, maybe that's why some of these coaches decided that they were going to stay where they were. Like a DeBoer, like a Dillingham, I don't know.
All right, maybe it is, but yeah, Dillingham, I just don't like. I think he's a decent coach, but
well, I don't think that's realistic. I'm just saying, coaches who didn't hire season that were hot candidates around the country, he was one of them.
Let's Matt, let's get to our NFL power rankings here on a Wednesday, as we always do. We gotta update some things after another weekend here of NFL action, with Texans still climbing, maybe some other Texas teams. I won't have to name who the other Texas teams are, but maybe not climbing as much, we'll say. But I think we know that you're happy because it feels like your Rams are going to stay at number one.
They are, because they're the best team in football.
Oh, it's going to be such a shame when Texas snaps every bone in Matt Stafford's body.
Texans?
Didn't
they already play?
No, but it's going to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Playing the Super Bowl, and then Matt Stafford's career comes to an ugly end when they have to, get the shovels to scrape him off the field after just abuse by the Texans defense. Over the weekend, the Rams did get another win, 45-17 over the Cardinals. Matt Stafford back into the MVP frontrunner role after a week ago. People thinking, oh no, he's had a somewhat not great game, so he's going to knock out. He's back right where he was. The Bills beat the Bengals in a game where they had to come back and win 39-34, but they do get the win. Seahawks get a 37-9 win over the Falcons. Patriots on a bye week. The Bears lose to the Packers 28-21. And the Denver Broncos somehow find a way to win a game that they should have won easily. 24-17 against the Raiders. In your tier one that we had, the 49ers run a bye week as well. Philadelphia, we know, lost on Monday Night Football to the Chargers. I feel like the Chargers are definitely moving up our list right now. They are 9-4 on the season. I feel like we're going to have to give them a little bit of respect. We know the Packers did win that game against the Bears. The Detroit Lions beat the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, putting up 44 points. Colts down hard, signing Old Man Rivers to come back and play on the team after another loss and major injuries, lost to the Jags there. Tampa Bay lose to the Saints, 7-6 now, not playing well. And of course, the Chargers that win on Monday Night Football. That's your tier 1 and 2. Matt, starting off here, what do you think for tier 1? What do we move around? The Bears are the only team that lost in our tier 1. Patriots didn't play. Do you move anybody around? Do you move anybody up from tier 2? The Chargers feel like they're on the ascent. The Packers get a big win over the Bears. The Lions, yes, CB Rivers does get, because Jones goes on IR, so the 17 number opens back up, so Phillip Rivers gets to wear number 17 again. We don't know. Riley Leonard played full practice today. So there's a chance Phillip Rivers does not actually play for the Colts, that he's just an emergency backup. That's the reality of what it could be. But the story around it's great. But the Lions with their win, the Chargers with their win, the Packers with a big win, 49ers on a bye week. Do you have anybody that moves up into tier 1? Do you move around in tier 1 at all, Matt?
I thought about the Packers in tier 1 instead of the Bears, but they're still just too inconsistent for me. So I think you leave it largely the same, but I think you only have 5 teams in tier 1. You move the Broncos up to 5. You drop the Bears to the number 1 team in tier 2, or somewhere in tier 2.
All right, so we move the Broncos up there. We move the Bears down. Let's see what we got. We can put them there at 6 in tier 2. Okay, so then you have the 49ers, the Eagles, the Packers who won, the Lions who won, and the Chargers who won. How do you move up the rest of tier 2 if we're starting off with the Bears at 6 and then probably leaving the 49ers at 7? They didn't play this week, but they didn't lose, clearly.
I think you leave the 49ers at 7 because I don't want to penalize them for not playing.
Yeah.
You can drop the Eagles down. I think you move the Packers up, and I think you move the Packers and the Lions and the Chargers all up underneath the Packers.
So you go with Packers at 8.
Yeah. So you move Packers up to 8, and then you move the Lions and the Chargers below the Packers, is what I mean.
Yeah. So then the Chargers are 10 and pushing the Eagles to 11. And then with the injury and how the Colts have looked,
I know you want to do it so badly, Patrick.
I'm asking the question, what do you do with the Colts and the Bucks here? Do they fall to a tier 3? Do they move? Do they stay there? Do one of the tier 3 teams move up? We know the Houston Texans did get another big win over the Chiefs, 20-10. Cowboys lost to the Lions 30-44, and the Jags won that game against the Colts. All those happened. The Panthers were on a bye, and the rest we've kind of already seen. Pittsburgh's probably going to jump. We'll get to that in a minute. But out of that tier 3, the Jags and Texans both won, and the Cowboys lost. Do you have anybody move up? Do you have the Colts or Bucks move down into tier 3 now? I feel like Colts can move down in the fact they haven't been playing well, and then you just have the Daniel Jones injury. It just feels like that kind of is the death knell of their season, right?
Yeah, and I think you move the Bucks down because they lost to the Saints.
Yeah, you got to punish them a little bit. They're still tied for the lead in that division, but they shouldn't be even in that position. I think Mike Evans is going to be back. He's listed as questionable now for the game on Thursday, so if he comes back, that helps him out a ton. maybe they can jump back up. But I'm with that of moving some of these teams around. All right. Do you move the Texans and Jags up to tier 2 and then move the Colts and Bucks down to tier 3? Or do you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll move Texans up there to 12, the Jags up to 13.
Well, I don't think you need to put the number 13 in tier 2, though. I mean, I guess the Jags are technically leading the division, though, aren't they?
They're 9-4.
Yeah. All right. Fine. That's gross. I hate that.
I do too, but they are playing well enough. And that does leave us in tier 3 with 14 and 15 being the Colts and the Bucks. Still, do you want to put the Bucks ahead of the Colts or the Bucks? We slide them down further. What do we want to do there? So we're starting to get into a little bit uglier of an area now.
Yeah. I think you just replace the two of them. I think the Cowboys are above the Colts, though, right?
So you want to go Bucks at 14, Cowboys at 15, Colts at 16?
Yeah, probably.
With their injury.
Yeah, just because I feel like the Cowboys still have an outside chance to win their division, and I feel like the Colts just their season's over now.
I mean, yeah, it just feels like with that injury that kind of kills anything. Now, do we do anything with the Panthers? They didn't play. They are now tied for division. They're a 7-win team, though. I don't know if we have to move them up. I feel like they're still fine leading that 17.
Well, do any of the other teams in tier 4 have a chance to win their division?
I mean, technically, the Steelers are going to win that division. The Steelers or Ravens are going to win that division. One of them is.
I mean, are they? Yeah. Pittsburgh's in the lead for the division, right?
Yeah, because they just won that matchup. I'd be fine with putting the Steelers up to 18, but I think the Panthers are still like they're all just kind of in that you're leading tier 4, but
yeah, I'm good with that.
So that puts it tier 4. I'd say tier 4 is Panthers, Steelers, keep the Ravens at 19. And then I would put the Dolphins at 20 ahead of the Chiefs, and I drop Chiefs all the way down to tier 5.
Well,
or do we
the Dolphins and the Ravens both have the same record, and the Dolphins just won and the Ravens just lost.
I know, but I feel like the Ravens could still win their division.
Yeah, all right.
That's the only reason is I'm like, here's our possible division winners that are at the top of tier 4. That's the only real reason. So that leaves 7, 18, 19 is the Ravens. Then we have the Chiefs and Dolphins still left in tier 4. The Vikings did get a 31-0 after being shut out themselves, then shut out the Commanders. JJ McCarthy, MVP type game, probably the future of the Minnesota Vikings and the NFL, future face of the league, Matt, and JJ McCarthy. Poor Dan Quinn. Yeah. And then the Chiefs are now at 6 and 7 as well, and not looking very good. Vikings are 5 and 8, and the Bengals, who take another devastating loss, are 4 and 9.
I think the Chiefs are officially eliminated from winning their division, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine moving them to tier 4.
Do you want to put do we put the Dolphins or the Chiefs ahead? They're both 6 and 7, I believe.
The Dolphins are winning and the Chiefs are losing. So
now, do we put the Dolphins in tier 4 or tier? I put them in tier 4 still. I think they're playing really good right now.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is move the Chiefs down to tier 5.
Yeah, so we go Dolphins at 20, move the Chiefs in at 21 here in tier 5. Just out of pure spite from Matt.
It's all Taylor Swift's fault.
All Taylor Swift's faults. Panthers at 17, Steelers at 18, Ravens at 19, Dolphins at 20, then tier 5, Chiefs at 21. Vikings stay away from being moved down to tier 6 with a win. But what about the Bengals? They did play better. They had 34 points, but allowed 39 in a loss to the Bills. Do they fall into that realm of tier 6 yet? I don't think we had any wins in tier 6, did we?
The Saints beat the
Saints
the
beat
Bucks.
the Saints could move up a little bit if we want to move them up, but
I don't know that I'm ready to move the Bengals down there yet.
okay. So we'll leave the Bengals at 23, still in tier 5, that we still like them a little bit. And then do we move the Saints up anywhere for their win this week? They're at 30 right now. They're 3-10 on the season, which the Commanders are also 3-10. The Falcons are a 4-win team. The Cardinals are a 3-win team. The Giants are a 2-win team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Raiders are a 2-win team. Browns are a 3-win team. Titans
I think
are
you
a 2-win
move the
team.
Raiders and the Giants to where the Saints, like down below the Browns, and you move the Saints above the Browns. So Cardinals, Saints, Browns, Giants, Raiders.
All right. All right. That works. That works for our power rankings for this, to move those guys down into tier 6 and just shuffling up some of the bad teams in this league, but try to be respectful. Trying to be respectful of some of these teams. You don't want to be rude on these. What are the Miami Dolphins schedule going forward?
Well,
Steelers,
Patrick,
Bengals, Bucks, Patriots.
Steelers, I feel like they can win that game. Bengals, I feel like they can win that game. They could win 3 of those 4 games, Patrick. They could be 9-8.
9-8 would be above 500. Would be crazy for the Miami Dolphins if they were able to pull that out at the end of the season.
That would be nuts.
And then it's like, well, now do you fire Mike McCarthy or Mike McDaniel?
Mike McCarthy. Yes, you do fire Mike
McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, new coach of the Michigan Wolverines. But Mike McDaniel, feels like it becomes a little bit harder to fire him at that point.
Yeah.
There's our power rankings for week 15.
Your dream of him being the play caller for the Texans is dying, Patrick, and I'm sorry.
It is. Hopefully Nick Caley will figure it out by then. But yeah, I feel like that ship has sailed at this point. He doesn't feel like he's coming over to do that anytime soon now, which is it's very disappointing. Very disappointing. All right, Matt, let's look over at the coaching hot seats as well over there in the NFL. We do see names starting to pop up that are starting to get a little bit hotter than where they were. And I think if we look at some of the hottest names right now, you have to look at some of those teams that were down at the bottom of our list. Jonathan Gannon for the Cardinals, who may try and go full rebuild, get rid of Kyler Murray, that they have already said he's done for the season now, that they're just not bringing him back. Doesn't seem to want to be there, doesn't really want to seem to play football, but they're going to try and sell that to somebody else that it was injuries and not his bad attitude or whatever else, as they try and trade him away. Raheem Morris is another name that feels like he's definitely on that list, Matt, with the Falcons really struggling again this year, not being able to get anything done. It's going to go to the top of the head of the snake, and that is Raheem Morris. And then the other question is going to be Kevin Stefanski at the Browns, because he's basically had one really good year in 2023, Matt. And outside of that has been really not good. Then you had everything this year with the Shedeur Sanders of not wanting to play him, not, constantly not really saying why he's not playing him, but implying that he wasn't doing the work, wasn't ready to play. Then he puts him in, and he's not better than anybody else, but he's also not as supremely terrible as he was going to be made out to be. And so now he's been made the starter for the rest of the season. It maybe feels like, all right, in Cleveland as well, we may try and end the Deshaun Watson era and end the Kevin Stefanski era and restart with something here. And we probably won't be Shedeur Sanders again next year, but maybe we'll go get another quarterback in this year's draft and then doom them to this turn.
I really hope they don't go get another quarterback until they figure out what they're going to do.
Oh, I hope they get somebody this year and he plays well enough next year that they don't have any inkling to go for Arch Manning.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I'm behind that 100%. Draft Fernando Mendoza.
Get somebody who's just good enough that you don't have to get, like they win like 6 or 7 games, that you're okay, you feel pretty good about the future, and then the bottom can fall out after that. But I need you to not be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes.
Yeah, we need the Browns, the Jets, and the Raiders not to be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes.
But yeah, it does feel like Raheem Morris and Jonathan Gannon also, like, again, probably full rebuild in Arizona. In Atlanta, I don't know if you're in a full rebuild, but you're maybe in the different position of like, we have so many pieces. Let's bring in somebody that believes they can make it work with these pieces, right? That you're trying to find somebody, Matt, to just get a Bijan Robinson, to get all those pieces. A name that you may throw out there is somebody who's had an offense who could run the ball really well and leads teams. I mean, throw in there, you could call him Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, look, if I'm the Falcons, I would give Raheem Morris one more year because this is only his second season.
Yeah.
So for him, I feel like if they had a quarterback and some improved offensive line play, they would be a lot more competitive. The defense is obviously, not good enough to keep them in games either. But I would stick that out for one more year if I'm them. And also just to see like who else becomes available.
Do you try and go out there and get yourself a better offensive coordinator, or do you stick with Zach Robinson? Do you say, guys, the offense is just not playing at the level it needs to. We spent all this money on defense, so we're going to keep Raheem Morris to try and fix this defense, but we have to go get somebody on offense to try and fix this stuff because we have talented players. Now, I get you're trying to make Michael Penix Jr. because like the point to keep Raheem Morris is we're giving Michael Penix Jr. another year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be on what these other teams are doing of just bailing on everybody. I think you could go that route. But yeah, it's those are 3 of probably the top ones. Then you go into different ones. We have the guys like Mike McDaniel we just talked about. Mike McDaniel's seat is still really hot because of the start of the season. But now you kind of moved away from that Tyreek Hill drama that apparently seemed to be bigger than it was. Like, we all thought it was a big deal and they kept downplaying it, but now Tyreek Hill's been out of the program for a little bit and they're playing much better. And you maybe have a more unified group at this point starting to figure some stuff out. Mike McDaniel is going to take that credit. So now you fall into, well, if he's above 500, can you fire him? And the other guy on that is Mike Tomlin. If he makes the playoffs and wins the division, can you fire these 2 guys who could both be above 500 that we didn't think they would be? Especially not, Mike McDaniel at the beginning of the season and Mike Tomlin before the season.
First of all, another thing with Raheem Morris, they've lost 5 one-score games this year.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like they're close if they can just fix a couple things. Mike McDaniel, if he finishes above 500, I don't think you could fire him because honestly, I almost want to give him coach of the year because of everything that he has overcome so far in the early parts of the season. I mean, what did they start like 1-5 and now they're 6-7? They started really, really poorly. He's done a great job of turning it around. I mean, obviously I'm being a little bit hyperbolic when I say that, but he has done a tremendous job over the last few weeks. maybe, him having his back against the wall really changed something in that franchise. Mike Tomlin is just such a, I like if I'm the Steelers, I'm almost like, what can we do to make sure that we don't win the division? Like, we need to do something different. And maybe they don't fire Mike Tomlin. Maybe they just have a meeting after the season, even if they win the division, and they're like, look, let's just do this really cleanly. We'll agree to let you resign and retire or whatever the case may be. And then we can rebuild, we can bring in some new blood. And then in a couple of years, you can be like, well, I've got a reinvigoration for coaching and I'm going to get back into it. Because I don't think he even wants to be there anymore.
No, but I feel like he's not going out that way either. Like, how Texas was with Mac Brown, where Texas really tried to lay out the red carpet for him to walk away.
Yeah.
And they tried everything to be like, dude, we love you. We really, really don't want to fire you. But also the results are dwindling. Recruiting's going down. Everything's going the wrong direction. So we got to figure out something. And he was like, nope, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. And then you could tell he just wasn't fully into it anymore of what he needed to be. And then he went to North Carolina. It felt like he was much more in it again. So he had it in him, but maybe he wasn't getting it there. And maybe that's the same deal with Mike Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
You got a couple names that are not good, like Kellner Moore, Aaron Glenn, and Pete Carroll, but they're all first-year coaches. I think Kellner Moore is probably doing the best out of the three because he's got nothing. He has nothing on that team. And they're playing decent football and being in some games. So I'll give him credit that he's at least making this team somewhat competitive. As far as the Jets and the Raiders, not so much. I don't know if the Raiders, this could have been a plan from the beginning for the Raiders as well to tank this season, or a plan from like week 4 on to just go, no, we're done. Geno's not the dude. Sorry, let's move on. Let's tank and we'll go again next season. And then Aaron Glenn is one that I'm really curious about because the Jets did not look good and their ownership's not great. I don't think you should fire a coach after one season. I don't know if Aaron Glenn has done anything to get there, but I also don't believe in the Jets that they wouldn't come out and just be like, no, we're firing him and bring in this other name that's not going to do anything for us.
I think it's really hard to fire a first-year head coach. Like, I'm sure it happens, but
the Texans did it a couple of years ago. And they were then hired another coach to lose.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to give him at least one more year, and just kind of see what happens.
I think they should. Yeah,
maybe they get a quarterback in this draft. They could get Fernando Mendoza, or they could get. I mean, who else is going to be in this draft? I feel like the names that we're going to be in it, like Garrett Nussmeier, I guess, Ty Simpson.
There's some other names in there. I can't. Dante Moore.
Is he? He might be, yeah. So if you can get one of those guys, maybe you give yourself a chance. There's just so much other stuff that they need to fix. I think you need to give them some time to do it.
And then a couple other names that I think are interesting names to put out there, but I don't really think I don't think they're going to be fired. But I'll go in order of guys that you go probably are okay. But I'll start with the most likely, if I was going to put rankings on it, most likely to be fired of the guys you think are probably okay. Zach Taylor is a really interesting one because it's not his fault that Joe Burrow got hurt. They're a better team when Joe Burrow's out there. But at the same part, you're like, your defense is just completely falling apart. Your offense, we paid all this money for the offense, and then we get one injury and we can't do anything. So what are we paying you for if you can't make what we bought? Again, they're a cheaper franchise in Cincinnati, so they may not want to pay him to leave. They may not want to hire another coach. They may just wait for his contract to expire, whatever that is. But I think Zach Taylor's an interesting one, Matt, to say the results have not been where they're at from a guy who took him to the Super Bowl early on, and then it's just kind of been going backwards due to injury in other circumstances for the last few years.
I feel like you need a fresh start there. The only problem is you're so committed money-wise to Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase that it's hard to get that restart with a new coach. if they had a decent defense, like if they could figure out a way to fix their defense a little bit, like bring in a new defensive coordinator and make some moves on the defensive side of the ball to improve things, I feel like they'd be right there.
Yeah.
So, I have a hard time seeing it yet. If they get to a point where they're like, okay, we're getting ready to extend Joe Burrow again, or we're getting ready to, it's time for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins' new deal. Let's make a move, and then we can figure out what to do with that stuff later. Then maybe that's more of a conversation. But it's just so hard to rebuild a franchise when you're that committed monetarily to the stars of your team.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw because they had Lou Anarumo, who was a really good DC, and they just took all the players away from him. And at a certain point, you start not, you're not keeping anybody defensively, and then you don't have an offensive line. You're like, you can't build a team that way. It's what the Cowboys have done to a different level of we're going to pay a few guys and then really pretend we have no other cap space because we don't want to spend any more money. And you get what the Bengals do. So it's not really Zach Taylor's fault, but there's got to be a fall guy sometimes. So I wonder about him. Another one is Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is one of those guys that wasn't necessarily ever really the hire that I think they wanted to have. That was during the whole Bruce Arians and Tom Brady not getting along. And then he's done really good things there. But then you start to fall off. And is there a world in Tampa Bay where they say, well, yeah, it's been your offensive coordinators. And every time you lose one, you're not the same team. They keep being head coaches. So we're hiring really good offensive coordinators, but it's not necessarily your defense because when guys got hurt in the offense, your defense couldn't do it. I think that's a bit unfair for Todd Bowles. I feel like you'd have to have 2 seasons down before you got rid of him for what he's been able to do. But I think it's an interesting name because it doesn't feel like, again, he was ever necessarily the guy they really wanted. It was more of a where he was at and what with Tom Brady there.
Yeah, with the Buccaneers, it's like, obviously, yes, they're underperforming pretty poorly. But they won that division last year, didn't they? And right now they're in position to win it again, and they've just had a rash of injuries. I feel like their downfall this year has been more on injuries than anything else. So
yeah, I'm with you. I just think it's an interesting name. I think it's an interesting name to keep an eye on to see what they do when they go through.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody got fired somewhere and then he was like, you know what, maybe I'll try my luck over there if they want to hire me.
And then another name that's up every single year, Sean McDermott. If the Bills can't win it, at what point do they walk away from a guy who has not been able to get him to the Super Bowl? And every year it feels like you're like, well, there has to be some change, and Josh Allen ain't the dude, but you're wasting away Josh Allen years now. And you can't quite figure out how to put together. And some of that's money, some of that's GM, some of it's like, it's not all on Sean McDermott, but does he ever get punished for the fact that they haven't been able to get over that Kansas City hump? Now Kansas City feels like they're not there. This feels like now go time for the Bills. Like if you don't win it this year, and now technically you may not even win your division because of the Patriots.
Look, if they can't get to the Super Bowl, then I think you can have the conversation. But if he gets you to the Super Bowl and he doesn't win it, like that's one thing. But if they go out there and they lose in the divisional round or something, then it's like, okay, like what are we even doing at this point?
I got you. No, I'm with you. I just, that name is always one that's interesting because it always feels like there's so much hope and then it ends with disappointment. And then, but yeah, I think I agree with you. If you make the Super Bowl, you've advanced again and you've gone in a positive direction. I agree with you. But it does feel like for them, you kind of got to step over that barrier. But yeah, the problem is the barrier really was you couldn't even get to the Super Bowl. For Buffalo fans, it may be worse to get to the Super Bowl and not win it. I don't know.
What happened to 4 years in a row?
Yeah. So they may be like, yeah. I don't want to go if we're not going to win it. But that's an interesting one. The only other one that's kind of you could even look at it all, but it feels like it's been tempered also is John Harbaugh. That there was a lot of talks that he had just been there for too long. that it was time to move on and go in a new direction. I just don't see it happening. It doesn't feel like what that franchise has been. It doesn't feel like until it gets really, really bad. He's been there since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's any smoke there really, unless they just really finish off the season poorly. Then maybe you get to the point where that conversation happens. But I think it would still be like, you got to change your coaches one more time before we fire you.
Yeah, I agree.
I did want to ask you this though, man. We talk about all those coaches with the hot seats, and we know there's already some open jobs and some names popping out there. Of who do you think? And one of the biggest ones is Marcus Freeman right now. There's a lot of rumors that Marcus Freeman could be looking at the NFL, or people at the NFL could be looking to him, I should say, rather. We know that Sark's always been in those conversations as well, of an NFL mind that people like. Who are some of the names in college football, if we look at the coaching carousel and how crazy it's been, and the world of us making fun of Michigan for having a coach firing this late, what school could get completely set back by possibly having a coach go to the NFL ranks at this time?
Well, I hope it's Notre Dame. I'm so tired of Notre Dame and their bitching and moaning. And I feel like, here's an idea too. What if he goes to Michigan?
They're going to call him.
I'm sure they will. I don't know. Marcus Freeman would feel like the best bet out of college to be a successful pro head coach. I don't know that there's anybody really that pops into my head where it's like, oh, this guy would make a ton of sense. I mean, Sark would be one of them, but he's not going.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley maybe would give it a shot, because I'm sure he doesn't like recruiting. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's out on the road, going to people's homes, talking to families and that kind of thing. Yeah, especially like with teams that are. Yeah, I just can't really think of that many.
I thought we'd know Kenny Dillingham, who you mentioned earlier. He's an interesting name of somebody where you could say, we kind of like where this guy is. We like the cut of his jib. We like a lot of this stuff. And, he hasn't done it at the college level, but that doesn't really matter to us. We're looking for somebody that we feel can come in and to get it to the next level. Now, especially if Kenny Dillingham, if they go up in if the Giants want to go pick up Jordan Tyson in the draft, and then you get Scatabo and Jordan Tyson with Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors, and you're like, all right, we trust we go in there and you can do some things for us, Kenny.
That would be wild if they could get Jordan Tyson with Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatabo and Jackson Dart. Hey, if I'm Kenny Dillingham, I listen to that.
I do too. Especially because I'm in the Big 12. It's really hard to do anything here. I've already lost. Sam Leavitt says he's ready to go. I lost my badass running back. Like, I'm always, I am the 1 foot out the door guy of when you're at one of these schools that doesn't necessarily get all the 5 stars and you really can't miss on any of them. When you like guys and you were like, we hit on 3 or 4. You really gotta, when you hit 3 on 4 guys, and I know Scatabo is not a 5 star by any imagination, but you really have to hit. And so that's there's always those guys who kind of build themselves up. Because a name that a name you figure is going to be in for a lot of NFL head coaching jobs is Joe Brady, who is formerly at DOC at LSU. But you figure his name, like, again, one of the reasons why I've never been a huge Matt Rule guy, or not never, but recently not been a big Matt Rule guy, is because Joe Brady was like on such a the up, right? And then the Panthers were struggling. Matt Rule's fault. It's Matt Rule's fault. Now, the team wasn't good or whatever else, but Matt Rule is not an NFL coach. And he threw Joe Brady under the bus for like 3 more weeks of work. Completely threw him under the bus, fired him, and it really set back Joe Brady's career. And now he's in Buffalo and killing it there. And I don't know if Buffalo would even really hate losing Joe Brady, because then they'll just call up Brian Daboll and tell him to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Joe Brady wants to go back to college. So I feel like the next step in his career would be like I feel like he would be so good in New York with those weapons. But the problem is, if you're the Giants, like, can you really pass off to the fan base that you're hiring a Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator 2 times in a row?
Yeah. No, I mean, I
really
get,
hard.
but it also does make sense again because you drafted Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson Darts wants to be Josh Allen.
Yeah. You'd have so many weapons, especially if you're able to get a receiver to put alongside Malik Neighbors. I mean, look, on paper, it makes sense. I'm just wondering how you rationalize that with everybody. Like, oh yeah, we it didn't work the first time, so it's definitely going to work the second time.
Yeah, that'll work the second time. And look, maybe Joe Brady wants to go to Cincinnati if they fire Zach Taylor. Go get him and go work with Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase.
That would be interesting.
Go try and live that up. Go sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire. See what you can do there in Cincinnati. I think that's an interesting one to look for. But yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of college football names that I think necessarily stand out is probably willing to go to the NFL this season. There's always going to be the guys who can end up doing it. We knew Harbaugh never wanted to be there. We knew Chip Kelly didn't want to be in college. I don't know if Marcus Freeman is on that side. I just know his name's coming up a whole bunch right now. And you look at Notre Dame and you're like, Notre Dame, if you lost your mind that much at being left out of the college football playoff, how insane will you be if in the same offseason you lose a coach well after all the other jobs are gone? Do you just go, what does Notre Dame just hire Brian Kelly again?
That would be, no, they can't, but that would be the greatest thing that ever happened. The whiniest team in college football hires the whiniest coach in college football for a reunion of just terrible things. I would be all about it.
Yeah, I'm all for that one. I like that idea now too. But yeah,
because he would eventually destroy Notre Dame too.
Well, of course he was. I mean, the fact was he left, and then they didn't miss a beat. Like they were just the same team right after he left, which is rare in college football. To have someone just step in and be able to do it the same. Like even Kalen DeBoer, he's been good, but he hasn't been Nick Saban good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's really hard to step in and do that. But yeah, that's it's an interesting world because we do know you're probably 5, 6, 7 coaches in the NFL every year get fired, and you got to bring in some new guys. And depending on how much they want to pay and how much they want to be flashy and whatever else they want to do, we get to see some big names in there, but not always. Sometimes, but not always. Matt, let's hit our second break real quick. We come back. We'll get ready. This big Spurs game tonight, Matt. Big Spurs game tonight. NBA Cup action. I got to tell you what the Lakers had to do. And we'll also wrap it up, meathead of the day, here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their 2 flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hey y'all, I'm Camille McKay.
And I'm Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
The old man and I are here to give you your summer weather forecast. It's hot.
That's right, kid.
Which means it's time for pool parties, grilling burgers, and taking a beach vacation, right?
Well, I don't know about a vacation, but Audiovisual brings more heat than any tropical destination.
It was worth a shot. I'll settle for some outdoor speakers.
You know, Audiovisual can do a lot more than that. We provide outdoor video screens, audio systems, landscape lighting, even solar shades for your patio to keep the Texas heat at bay.
Well, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. I'm ready to lounge on a floaty and listen to some smooth jazz.
Well, that sounds wonderful, but some smooth reggae is the way to go this summer.
Good thing we can listen to both with the Sonos sound system. I call dibs on the floaty, though. Peace out.
Kid, wait a second. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. That's 512-255-8678.
Welcome back into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered here on a Wednesday afternoon. Wrapping things up, Matt. Big NBA Cup action tonight. We get Suns versus Thunder at 6:30. Fun matchup. Thunder should be able to win this pretty easily. By the way, Thunder 23-1 right now, Matt.
81-1. I can feel it.
They are a really good basketball team. And the worst part is one of the least marketable basketball teams of all time. Not only being in Oklahoma City, but SGA is a boring player. He is just stone-faced. There's nothing about him that's really sellable. He is the nightmare of every NBA marketing person. It's like, oh, so Oklahoma City is just going to keep winning and be really great, and we can't even sell this guy. Oh, and he's Canadian. Come on, man. Give us something here. And then the big matchup tonight, Spurs versus Lakers. This is the funny part I read earlier. So you know how they do the NBA Cup courts, Matt? That are
they're ugly.
Solid colored courts and all of that. Apparently, tonight's game in LA will not be a solid color court. It will be a regular Lakers court because in the NBA Cup games they had done, the yellow paint was too slippery. I don't know why yellow would be more slippery than anybody else's, but they were saying that court in particular seemed to be slipperier than other courts. So they said, out of an abundance of caution, we are going to not do the game on that court and do it on a regular court.
That's so weird.
Is there a conspiracy theory now, Matt? You gotta.
No, I don't understand it. How can yellow be more slippery than any
I don't
other
know.
paint?
I just thought they were like on the yellow court. It was slippery, and I think it's gold too. I don't know. Is it yellow or is it gold? I don't know.
It's yellow. They call it gold, but it's yellow.
But yeah, so the Lakers and Spurs. Wemby not coming back for this game, which is a shame. We'd love to see Wemby be able to come back. If they do have a chance to win this, when they into Vegas, he'll probably be back by then, I would assume. But he did not. He started to do 5-on-5s again, coming back from that calf injury. We see Spurs fans still freaking out, Matt. You know, Spurs fan. You know, we are all doctors now because we can search something online, so we know what's best for every player when they should come back. We don't trust the people who've gone to school for this and learned it all and have done it for years. A lot of people believe that the Spurs are intentionally holding him out and not playing him to just hurt Spurs fans, I guess. That we need to fire all the people. A lot of people mad at Mitch Johnson, the coach, because he's being too safe, and he's like, I don't make those decisions about who plays and who doesn't. That I don't get final say on that. I get told who I'm coaching. That's what happens, and they tell me who can come back. But good for the Spurs. Steph Castle is now back. Dylan Harper is playing great basketball, man. They looked into another top pickup. Now really hit on 3 out of the last 4 drafts. Not Jeremy Sohan, but Wemby, Steph Castle, and Dylan Harper have all been huge hits so far. Watching Dylan Harper play, Matt, a ton of fun. He is somebody who attacks the basket with both hands, gets in the paint as easily as anybody in the NBA as a rookie. Like, you just look at some of these guys, and now he turns the ball over too much. All rookies do. But a hell of a player. Gonna be fun to watch tonight against the blinding light of the Lakers, the whitest team in the NBA being Los Angeles. Who would have figured that out? But Luka Doncic, we know, is Luka Doncic. He apparently, Luka, flew home to Slovenia for the birth of his daughter, then flew back, and then put up 35 points. Like, come on, man. Come on. You can't be that good. But yeah, big game tonight for the NBA Cup. It's all on Prime Video. That game's at 9 o'clock. Matt, you stay up till 9 o'clock and watch some NBA basketball. I know it's your favorite thing to do.
You know, if I'm being quite honest, I haven't watched a single NBA game this season, and I intend on keeping that streak alive until this show needs to talk a lot more NBA.
So it's soon. It's real soon, man.
Real soon. So I'm holding out as long as I can.
We did see Derek Lively too announce today that Derek Lively for the Mavs will be out for the season. Has to get Liz Frank surgery on his foot.
For a big guy.
Hate that for a big guy, especially a guy who grew like 2-3 inches this summer or something like that.
Yeah.
They're like, he's like 7'4" now, which is nuts that he grew that much just already as an NBA player. But yeah, he's going to have his surgery. All right, let's see what I've got here for our meathead of the day. Found this Najee Johnson, who is a defensive back for the Chiefs, was showing off his locker. And people have read with this that we know every year in the polls that the Chiefs don't get upgraded lockers and upgraded seating and upgraded anything in the locker room. And everyone's like, well, how bad could it be? Like, now I want you to know, Texas fans, we know what the Texas locker room looks like. We've seen this. We've seen some high school locker rooms that look really nice. This is the Chiefs locker room, according to his video.
Wondering what our lockers look like. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. This is my locker room at the practice facility. Got my shoes down here. Got my loop. Got my knee brace. Everything I need is all right here. Got the jersey. It's fire. You want to know who my locker buddy is? I'm going to show you. J-Watt, the dog, man. This is me right here. Corner locker. Can't go wrong with that. My locker looks clean right now because I'm not playing, but if I was playing, my shit would be like kind of wrecked because everything is everywhere. But luckily, got nothing but time to clean my locker.
So there is the Chiefs locker room. Matt, are you a little surprised at how that looks?
That looks like a high school locker room, Patrick.
It looks like a middle school locker room, but maybe high school, maybe not a major funded high school. But there's, I
it looks like a like
Bet
like
Wesley
a 3A Mississippi high school locker room.
Yeah,
like the 5 and 6A high schools in Texas have better facilities than that.
Yeah, that looks really not what I was expecting out of an NFL locker room, which is, you hear this sometimes from these kids that come from major schools like Texas and Georgia's and all that, that it's a major culture shock to go play in the NFL. And they're like, oh, your facilities suck.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, we're not recruiting. So we don't have to keep updating this stuff because we don't care about recruiting anybody. No one's coming here for our facilities. They're coming here for the money we're giving them. So we don't really need to do that. And you get the Chiefs, who have said that for years. And so if we want to make fun of the Chiefs, pretend and say why the dynasty's ending, it's the locker room, Matt. It's the locker room.
It might be that or Taylor Swift. I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah. Why doesn't Taylor Swift give it like a Eras makeover?
She's got enough money. Just give them like $10 million to upgrade their
by the way,
locker
so
room.
does the owner of the Chiefs.
Yeah, but she could use it as a donation or something and do
A donation.
tax write off.
Well, she ain't gonna care about the Chiefs in 1 year. All right, what,
No,
6
she
months?
And then we never have to see her on an NFL broadcast ever again, Patrick.
Oh, we'll see her. She'll pop back up. She'll pop back up here and there. I don't mind seeing her. I more mind everybody yelling about seeing her. Like, yeah, we see a bunch of idiots on these broadcasts. I don't want to see any of them, but I don't really care either. I'm not too worried about it. It is. I was more surprised that she has like an 8-part doc. That we're like, really? We gotta do 8? Come on, man. Can we just put like, I get she's super popular. I get that. 8 parts though? There's that much that needs to be said in this. Make these things smarter. Make these things smaller, people. Shorter. So people like me for people with ADHD. Come on, let's try it. We got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, continuing looking around the coaching search, see what more breaking news, portal news happens here in the next 24 hours. But we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more from Open Gym.